Sports Network.
Ryan out of the gun, two receivers stacked both ways. Good protection, stands in. Pump fakes, now he's going to take off. He throws to his left, and Nyheim Hines at the 30, spins out of one tackle. Looks like he's going to come up just short of a first down. We have a Colt player shaken up. I think that might be Nyheim Hines, who took a wicked tackle on the outside by Bonito.
Play fake for Ryan in the pocket. Pumps once, pumps twice, plenty of time. Now throws the ball middle of the field. It's intercepted. And that is Caden Stearns with the big interception of Matt Ryan.
Wilson looking, dancing, scanning, throws into the end zone. Broken up! It's broken up! The Colts win! Stephon Gilmore with the pass breakup. I-N-D-Y! Colts win in overtime!
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
So it is a fact of life in our profession that any time you tell people what they do, they get jealous. Oh, you get to talk sports on the radio. You have so much fun. What they don't realize, Ray Flowers, is we also have to talk about sports and events and games like last night. Everybody else, Ray, gets to move on with their lives, not think again about what they saw between the Broncos and the Colts. You and I are tasked with recapping that rather muddy, ugly, and putrid affair from last night.
Yeah, that didn't work very well, did it? That was not, we joke around and say, hey, it's, the only game in town. Hey, it's, the national show. People were turning, I was on social media, going through, people were like turning the game off midstream. Like people weren't even watching the game. It got so bad that people were, the game goes to overtime. They weren't even watching. So yeah, I saw all the tweets about, Amazon paid $78 million to show that last night. I don't think it worked out very well.
Yeah, there were a lot of hilarious moments. I know my buddies were, they're watching the game and complaining about it. And, the fans are leaving in the middle of the game. Like they're showing fans streaming, up the stands and out the gates. I thought all night long, Ray, I will say Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, they've kind of reached a place where they're Teflon. Like they can make fun of the product on air and they don't have any repercussions, which is great. I love that. I love to hear when the announcer is saying the exact same thing the rest of the world is. Yeah. Like it would have been a farce if they were trying to feign excitement. There was a moment Al Michaels nailed it, Ray. I think he said, I don't know, it's like first and goal from the 6. Words that I thought I would never say tonight. And Kirk Herbstreit, I was telling you before the game, there was a moment with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He was going to go into an explanation of why this game was worth watching. And, if you win the game, nobody cares 3 months from now. They just care about the check mark in the box. And he literally just quit on the explanation, right? He just gave up, threw his hands in the air and said, I can't lie. I can't do this. I can't convince people that they should be watching the remainder of this fourth quarter.
It's bad. And, they're the NFL. It's the NFL, so they're fine, right? But let's think about this. They got the stupid game in London last week. They got the stupid game across the seas this week. The games that are on primetime are constantly disappointing. Marquee players that sign massive contracts are underperforming. Teams are underperforming. This product to date, the NFL product this year is miles off what it was last year. It sucked. And they got problems. It doesn't matter because it's the NFL. But like if this was baseball, there'd be national stories being written about what is wrong with the product. The football product right now is just not very good, Kyle.
Yeah, they need to juice the ball in football. They need to do something to improve the scoring. We can't ban the shift in football, but maybe, Ray, we can ban shifting before the snap. Like once you line up, that's what you have to do. So even if the offense moves, the defense has to stay the way they were set. Man, I know a lot of people have an issue with Thursday night. So does Ray. That game, Ray, felt like it was a Sunday night game after the two teams had already played Sunday afternoon. Like it felt like that quick of a turnaround. We will spend time recapping it. Fear not. We will talk over that victory by the Colts over the Broncos. First game in the NFL in almost 20 years where you had 4 interceptions, at least 4, and no touchdowns. I think the last time that happened was week 1 of 2003. So it's been a long time since we saw two offenses that brutal, that terrible. I'm guessing that everybody got a good night's sleep, though. So it's good to have you with us here on Lunch Money for a Friday. We are getting set for the weekend. Let's hope the rest of week 5 is better than that kickoff last night between the Broncos and the Colts. I believe that was 2 horses you just kind of put out for the glue factory. Take both those horses, send them to the glue factory, and be done with it. We have got a load to get to over the next 3 hours. We always invite you to join us in the chat room. If you've got any questions, any thoughts, by all means, just jump on and let us know. Hit that fun button if you'd like, the call button if you'd like. We'd love to hear from you on a Friday as we get rolling up until 3 o'clock. Let us begin, Ray, with our lunch menu. The appetizer is where we start. Something over the last day or so that is catching your eye, catching your mind, and something, Ray, that you want to speak on at the start of the show. What do you got, man?
Yeah, and I'm going to hit on what I basically just said. It's not just that the NFL product is bad, and make no mistake, it is. It's bad. They're playing bad football. There are broken passing offenses everywhere in the NFL. Now, this league has geared all of the scoring, all of the rules toward offense. We know that. Defenses can't, you go watch a game from 1978 to today, you won't even realize it's the same game. Like everything is geared toward offense. And it doesn't matter. Okay. Denver, Pittsburgh, the Giants, the Titans, the Steelers, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Bears are horrible at passing the football. A third of the NFL has no idea how to run an offense through the air. It's shocking. And I don't know if this is just a random sample size. I don't know if this is just a random confluence of, these pieces don't go together. I don't know if this is because every coach that's hired anymore is 26 years old and barely out of college because they knew Sean McVay 10 years ago. I don't know what it is, but we have a rampant scenario of putrid offense highlighted by complete inefficiency and utter disaster when it comes to passing the football for about a quarter of the NFL.
Yeah, it's what's fascinating about it, Ray, is so many of the rules in the last 10 to 15 years. Any rule changes, slight alterations, how are we going to call the game? Everything has been to improve the offensive and usually passing offense. That's usually what these rule changes are made, especially with like PI and what can be reviewed and hitting a guy within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and the way they're starting to call the game. Like every rule adjustment, Ray, is in favor of the offense to improve the passing game, and they still can't figure it out. Nope. Now, great reminder in our chat room. Next week, warning to everybody, 6 days away, Washington and Chicago, Ray.
Yeah.
Can we flex that? Can we? Justin Fields. Ray, we go from Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson to Justin Fields. We may be praying to watch another Russell Wilson disaster next week. Justin Fields may set us back another 3 or 4 decades.
Yeah, and again, it's partly Justin Fields, it's partly the Bears, it's partly everything. But this is, if people love football, and they do, they're going to watch. Whether your home team is bad or not, you're in. I get it. But for people like you and I that have to look at everything, for people that are playing the fantasy game that have to be in touch with everything, the product sucks. It just does. And it's shocking to me that, Justin Fields is struggling. All right. He's a young player who doesn't have a full year of NFL experience starting. Okay. Right. We got it. All right. Russell Wilson, Ryan Tannehill, these are established veterans. And again, Russell Wilson's on a different level than Tannehill, but Tannehill was a near MVP a couple years ago. Right? I mean, what's going on here? Baker Mayfield has forgotten how to complete a pass unless it's to the running back. I don't understand how there are so many offenses. You look at these, and it's to the point now. What does Matt Ryan have? 11 fumbles? My God! How is that possible? And
don't forget 7 interceptions too.
Yeah, and it's just when the veterans like Ryan, like Wilson, and again, new scenarios, new team, when those guys can't even be looked at as legitimately able to go, 250 and 1.8, right? Which is a normal game for them for the entire career. When they can't legitimately be looked at and even remotely expected to get there, it's a mess. And, we had the Geno Smith questions and all that. My God, Geno Smith is a superstar compared to some of these quarterbacks, and it's just shocking.
You know what and there's a lot of things you bring up that has me questioning. Like, I think like most people, I'm a believer in experience, whether it's football or any walk of life. I want somebody who's been there, that done that. I want a doctor who's been there, done that. You know, you believe in experience, right? We hear all the time about veteran leadership and experience and decision making. I watched last night with Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan, and it was god awful.
Mhm.
Like, and that is decision making from guys who have literally thrown thousands upon thousands of passes in the NFL, and they sucked last night. They were bad. They look like rookies, and it makes me wonder, Ray, maybe the experience is totally overrated now. Maybe we have schemed things so much. Maybe the powers that be, the coaches, the OCs, the DCs. Maybe, Ray, we have schemed this so much. We have analyzed it so much, we have scientifically built it so much that these guys can't even do it if the scheme's not going to help them do it. Like, if they're asked to do it, good luck. Like, the only guys who succeed outside of the scheme are the guys like Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, who just kind of say, screw this, I'm running outside the pocket. I'm going to do it myself. The schemes, Ray, if they're not there, these players don't seem to be able to pull off the offense, to make the decisions. Maybe the guys with the strings, the puppeteers, if you will, maybe they have more power than we think when it comes to these players.
And we have said it for years at fantasyguru.com. Okay. Articles, podcasts, radio shows. Again, you can use the code Bettor, BETTOR, to get a discount over there. We have said it for years at the site. And even before that, Jeff Mans has been saying this for a decade. You're all off your rocker if you think player A or player B who looks great in their underwear is what it's all about. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There are a handful of players on each team where that stuff matters. 90% of NFL players are all the same. It's the coaching staff. It's the scheme. It's what they do. And we're seeing it everywhere across the NFL. And I wonder, I saw it in the chat room, our offense is getting overly complicated, working grind ass. Are we in an era where all these coaches are Madden football players? They've all played video games growing up and beep, boop, bop, bop, boop, beep, 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 bop, and that's how they're scheming offenses. Why are third string tight ends scoring touchdowns? What are you doing? The guy will score a touchdown and then he won't get a target for the next 9 months. Like,
no, you forgot. My favorite, Ray, is the goal line handoff to the tight end. That's my new favorite. It's like, give the ball to a running back. Like, now we're handing it off to the tight end in motion. Come on.
Back when we were kids, the wildest offenses got was they put William Perry, the fridge, in the backfield. That was the craziest thing anyone had ever seen. Now that stuff happens every week. No one even bats an eye. It's just normal. I don't know what's. I mean, it's clear that there are a lot of things going on here. All right, but again, I fall back on the coaches. And also think about this too. There are scenarios where the coaches are younger than the players. It's true. I don't know. Is that the right? I don't know. Maybe these guys that have been in football forever that we say get rid of them, get new blood in. Maybe there's something to be said for a guy who's actually coached an NFL team for 10 years or 15 years or has 30 years of coaching experience versus these 32-year-old whippersnappers that look great when they're playing Madden, that look great when they have a spreadsheet in front of them. But when the bullets start flying, Mr. Hackett, things don't work.
Well, and the other thing that stands out to me, because it was brought up about being overcomplicated, and I'm talking about the puppeteers and how they control things. Ray, I'm blown. And again, this is going to sound like get off my lawn talk. I realize that. And I will say it at the risk of sounding like the old man shaking my fist. But Ray, I'm blown away how whenever I grew up in the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, not every quarterback needed a wristband with 500 plays on it. Like the offensive play calling was simple enough, and it was still pretty complicated. It's not like I could just go in there and rattle off things. I mean, you still had to learn things. But, Ray, it wasn't so overly complicated that every quarterback, even if you've been around 15 years, needed this giant wristband with all the play calls and the numbers, and because everything's so complicated. That's a perfect example to me of how it has gotten kind of silly. Same thing in baseball, Ray. We have the position players. And watch this sometimes. All of them have a card in their back pocket that tells them where they should line up defensively for every single batter. So they all just pull out this card they look at while they're in the field. Most people don't even notice this, but it's been going on for like 5-6 years. And maybe some of that stops with the shifting. We'll see. But Ray, it's like we've gotten so advanced that these guys, these players who are just out there to succeed, to pull it off, to do it, there's too much going on. They need cheat sheets just to get to the line of scrimmage and to know what play is coming up next.
Yeah, and this is in all sports too. Like you're saying, it's in baseball, it's in football, it's in all sports. And this is part of the problem that, it's funny, Ray, who loves stats and analysis, it's part of the problem I've been talking about for years with you, with years and articles at fantasyguru.com. We got problems. You can't run this stuff like it's a Madden football game. You can't run this stuff like Bill James is writing a baseball abstract in 1984. You can't do it. It doesn't work. At some point, you got to let the athletes be athletes. You got to let the players be players. And when you try to control everything to such a minute level, you get over processing. Certain players can't handle that too. Let's be honest, right? It's not that they're not intelligent. It's that when you have 9 things to worry about instead of 2 things, which is what for the first 90 years of football, you had 2 things to think about. Now you got 9 things to think of. It's hard. And you start over processing. You make a mistake. You start second guessing yourself. You start indecision, happy feet, bad throws, offense does. I mean, it's not that complicated. You got to break things down and put players in positions to succeed. That's what NFL coaches are famous for, right? This player's run for 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns 3 years in a row. New coaching staff comes in. What do? They replace him. Why? Not because he isn't good, but because they want their guy who fits their system. Coaches need to remember their system is important, but if they don't have the pieces to execute their system, they have to change. Players do what they do, and some of them do it immensely effectively, right? But they may only be able to do 2-3 things. If you ask them to do 9 things, it may not work.
Yeah. Well, think about it this way. I get it. New team, new coach, new O-line, all this stuff, new system. It's October 7th. Like, seriously, Russell Wilson has been, staring at this offense and should be thinking nothing but this offense for over 3 months now. And you're telling me he still doesn't get it? They still don't get it? They're still new? Come on. If it's taking over 3 months for a guy who's been in the league 10 years to figure out your offense, shrink it, change it, something. It shouldn't take this long, but it is. Oh, well. Well, but my appetizer, Ray, actually follows yours, but it really has nothing to do with the game.
Okay.
I really got hit between the eyes last night. The issue I have with streaming games, because we got this whole thing about streaming. Right. Here's what's going on, Ray. This is my problem. Like I said, the Michaels Herb Street combo, fine. I don't love it, but it's fine. Those are 2 good veteran voices, whatever. All the videos, excellent. We touched on that yesterday. Mm-hmm. Here's the issue. I can't flip channels, Ray.
True.
When you're streaming, I don't know. Maybe that's different. I have a smart TV, Ray. So you hit like a source button, and you got to go over to Amazon Prime, Netflix down there, all that stuff. So I don't know if that's how most people consume this or not. That's how I do. I hit a source button. I got to go to Amazon Prime. I'm already signed up. I've got an account. I hit it. Boom, I'm in. But Ray, the problem is with streaming, it's like a pain in the ass for me to say, oh, they're going to a 3-minute commercial break. I just want to flip channels. Right. I just want to see. So last night, Ray, I said, this game's so bad, I can try this. I can try to do a little channel surfing. I don't care if I miss anything. What am I going to miss? A 2-yard carry, another sack, another Matt Ryan fumble? Who the hell cares?
Right.
So, Ray, the whole process of saying I'm going to flip channels or check things out is awful. Like, the power of Prime or any of these streaming services, Ray, is if they do run commercials like we have with the football game, we can't go anywhere else. It's too much of a hassle. The beauty of plugged-in TV, satellite, cable, whatever you want to call it, man, I've got every channel at my footstep and I can get there in 2 seconds. I can't do that with streaming. I can't do it. I want to leave these commercials. Now, the other part of this, Ray, is last night I actually did say, okay, what else is on? Here's what else was on at 9:40 Central Time. I want you to realize the competition here. We had ESPN was counter programming with 2 high school football teams from Louisiana playing football. That wasn't enticing. There was a show on that I've never come across called Alaskan Bush People. Which, like, when you fill out your tax forms, did they say
Alaskan Bush
what
person?
Is your occupation? Alaskan Bush person. You think the IRS is really going to fly out to Alaska to double check that?
What code is that exactly?
There was Bizarre Foods, of course, was on, and I noticed that the guy was in Northern California.
Okay,
that wasn't enticing. Now, one I almost stopped on, Ray. One that I almost stopped on and said this Broncos Colts game is such a pile of manure that I'm willing to watch this. It was purely driven by the title of the show. And I don't even know what, maybe on WeTV, I don't know. But Ray, the title of the show was From Inmate to Roommate.
Nice. Okay.
That was like, this may actually be better than watching Russell Wilson try and figure out the Colts defense. From inmate to roommate. Like, who knows where we end up in that show? So there were things. Don Lemon was on. I haven't watched Don Lemon in 5 years. God love him. He's still going. There was like a Thor Ragnarok or something that was on. I've never seen it. But the problem again is, Ray, let's say I wanted to check in on From Inmate to Roommate. I check in. I can't just immediately flip back to the football game. No, I got to change the source. I got to sign back in. Then whenever I click the button to say I want to watch the game again, you know, it's like I'm the only person that left the game and then came back last night. Like, I'm that guy. I'm an Amazon A1 customer. I came back, Ray, and they had I can't just go right to the game. They have to ask you, do you want the game right now? Like, or do you want to start over the game?
Right.
Are you kidding? What if some sad sap made the mistake of starting over that game last night? No. So all in all, Ray, my problem is when you stream, it's cool. I get it. All these new avenues, all this stuff. Channel surfing. 20 years from now, Ray, the kids ain't going to know what channel surfing is. They ain't. The channel surfing to them will be, I went from YouTube TV to Hulu to Prime to Netflix, and it took me like 7 minutes to go to those 4 channels. That's what we're gonna end up with.
The way to overcome what you're saying is to use picture-in-picture, I think. Now, I will admit, I've never tried picture-in-picture when I've had an app open.
Well, the other problem, Ray, I have heard you want to watch From Inmate to Roommate in like 4K.
Okay,
you don't want it up there in the corner. You want the full,
I mean, think about this, and this is a great point. Think about this. We bemoaned, or especially I bitched about you have to pay $6 here and $6 here and $6 here and $6 here each month to actually watch the NFL games. Now, to your point, they are forcing you to watch the commercials. So you're not only paying to watch the game, you're now being screwed by being forced to watch the commercials. So they're boning you twice.
It's rough. It's rough. And in the chat room, I have not cut the cord. I'm not a cord cutter. I still have DirecTV. That's what I got. I'm not I have these. I have Netflix and I guess Prime with the free shipping stuff. That's all I get.
And I've seen multiple people in the chat room say, well, I've got my laptop open. I've got a second TV. You shouldn't have to have a laptop or a second TV going. I get it. That's what we do because we don't want to sit there and watch commercials.
Thank you. Ray.
Yeah. The average person go spend $300 on a TV. The average person, I'm not trying to be, the average person doesn't have $350 laying around to go buy a crappy Vizio TV from Best Buy that they can stick in the corner that then they have to spend $150 to buy a stand for. The average person, where they're at IKEA, the average person doesn't have the funds or the room or the size or the wires in there. They can't do that.
At this juncture, Ray, in 2022, things are supposed to be easier.
Yes.
Not harder.
We shouldn't have to have more TVs now than we did 10 years ago. That doesn't make any sense.
I love the solution is go buy another TV.
Or another computer, or have your computer open. It's like then now you're staring at your little computer screen. It's just, again, we do what we got to do, but we should not be inconvenienced by a massive entity that we give billions of dollars to in the first place. Think about that.
I just want to flip channels. That's all I want to do, Ray. I want to have the ability to flip channels. I should be able to go from streaming to cable to all that. I should get all 300 channels, 280 of which I don't watch. I should have access to all of this with just a hit of the button. I don't. So last night was a perfect night to see what else was on TV. That was the perfect night. Problem was you can't do it when you're streaming. I couldn't. Anyway, That's my appetizer. Main course for today. This is becoming the traditional main course on a Friday. Injuries, and maybe even some surprising injuries. If you thought it was bad to have only 3 points a week from Kyle Pitts, it's about to get worse for Kyle Pitts. So we'll run through all the injuries, where we stand for the weekend. Obviously, our side dishes, we are chock full. A lot of games to preview for week 5. A little more on this Colts-Broncos game. I don't want to belabor it too much. We'll follow Major League Baseball's postseason. As we speak, the Rays and the Guardians are in play. I saw Ray look over his shoulder. Ray, you must be watching the game.
I have Shane Bieber covering first base there, yes.
Yes, Shane Bieber. So they're still in the first inning, no score?
It's top of the second, actually, no score.
Oh, they're flying.
Yeah.
Game's cooking. Lunch Hunch, Duke's Den. We're going to talk some college football, get you set for your Saturday. Matt Bruning is set to join us from college to campus, campus to Canton. I always have to remember, it's a great name, but I got to remember it. From campus to Canton. You can catch that every Saturday morning. So we're going to talk to him coming up in hour 3. Let's see. Today's a Friday, Ray. Our treasure trove is going to be out there. I'm looking forward to that. I've got a October postseason baseball memory. That I will be showcasing. Can you give us a hint as to what you're going to be showcasing?
I've got a small, but it fits in my hand. It's small, but it very much dovetails into my love of sports and my love of something away from sports that we actually talked about earlier this week on the show. It'll make sense when we see it.
What could it be? So all that's coming your way. Producers, Brian Drozda, Heather Klein. I think this is Brian's last day with us, which, Ray, is kind of par for the course for you and I. I don't know what it is about you and I. We must be incredibly impossible to work with.
All right.
Because we literally go through producers over all of our numbers of years, Ray. We go through producers like a red hot knife through butter. I mean, we just cut through these guys. I think Droz only lasted 6 weeks with us. That's it, Ray. He's out the door. He says, I'd rather work behind the scenes than have anything to do with lunch money.
Chris C, by the way, you're right. In the chat room, if anyone wants to look, he got what my item is going to be.
Surprise. Like, of all the things I could have guessed Ray was going to connect his ornament to.
And I only have one TV in my office. I don't know what it is. And Droz is going upstairs, for Better Sports Network. He's going to make sure that we're still in business in 6 months. He's going to do business stuff. So that's good. But yeah, for those people that have been following us forever, we joke. I mean, I think when we were at Sirius, we legitimately worked with every producer they ever had. And I mean, we're starting out
kind of
strong
the
here.
Training wheels, I think, for a lot.
Yeah, I guess we're either incredibly hard to work with or incredibly easy to work with. I don't know, maybe a little both. I don't know, but yeah, we hopefully we don't lose Heather Klein in the next 6 weeks. So we'll see. She's probably looking at another show. She's probably wanting to get on with Finsty and Rodas. I know how this works. She's wanting to move up into the evenings. These mornings with these buffoons, give me a break. But I'd love to say, Brian, we were going to celebrate your time here at Lunch Money, but it was so damn short. Like, I don't think we have enough highlights. Like, we could do a montage of great moments and maybe over in like 10 seconds. I don't know. But anyway, congrats to Droz. Yeah, I shouldn't say congrats. He's probably got more work than he wants now. He just doesn't have to deal with us. So congrats on that, Droz. What else? Oh, bet du jour. Ray, what's your bet of the day as we get rolling on this Friday? Yeah, let's go for it. Baseball, the playoff stuff, I'm a little reluctant to get involved in, so I didn't do it today. I went football today for you, Kyle. It's a Friday. It is Friday, right? I don't even know what day it is.
Yes, I've said that probably 3 or 4 times already.
Yeah, and Thursday night football was last night. My bet du jour is the highest odds I've ever had on a bet du jour, which, again, is kind of just the point of the day. We're going plus 290 for 200 yards from George Pickens and Stephon Diggs.
Combined.
Combined. Correct.
Yeah.
Combined. 290 plus 290 is a big payoff for a number that's doable. I mean, it's one game and all that, but Pickens, certainly had the eye of Pickett last week. He went over 100 yards. Stephon Diggs has gone for 80 yards and 9 catches his last 2 games at home. The last 2 times in the matchup, he's caught at least 9 passes. So, and it's Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. So 290. I'm surprised the number actually I'm surprised the yardage mark isn't higher or the odds aren't lower. I don't think that's really a plus 290 bet. Maybe I'm wrong.
Diggs can do it against the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
That Steelers secondary can be had. The problem may be Pittsburgh with the rookie QB. Because you're on the road at Buffalo. That's a really brutal spot to be thrown in if you're Kenny Pickett. So that's a tough one to be sitting in. Beyond that, I guess you could say, well, hell, I think they're a double-digit underdog in that game. You could say, well, gosh, he's going to be asked to throw the football 35 times, so maybe a lot goes to Pickens. Not a bad bet, but yeah, payoff is a big one. My payoff is nothing like that. Staying with college football, Texas and Oklahoma tomorrow. We're going to talk this over with Matt Bruning. That's the big Red River rivalry, as Ray Flowers will tell you.
Of course.
They play it at the Texas State Fair, right on the grounds of the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas, which I have been lucky enough to be to the Cotton Bowl, I think twice, at least once. But the Cotton Bowl is like old school. That's a fun place to watch a football game, where in effect it's like one giant bowl of 120 rows and then a upper deck on both sides. It's like a traditional old school football stadium. They always play this big Oklahoma-Texas game there in Dallas. It's an early morning kickoff. Quinn Ewers is the QB for Texas, set to be back for this game, and the line has really moved. Like all week long, Texas was a 7-point favorite. Now they are sitting at 8.5. Neither of these two teams are ranked, which is really rare between the Sooners and the Longhorns. Oklahoma is also coming off 2 straight losses. They are a big underdog, but Ray, I'm getting 8.5 points in a rivalry that Oklahoma has mostly dominated. I think they're the better team. 8.5 points, a lot here. So I'm taking the underdog Sooners as an 8.5 point dog to cover. It's way too big. And I know Oklahoma's had their issues, but Ray, I'm going to look at it this way. They're 18 years old, man. They had bad losses to K-State, bad losses to TCU. You can get 18, 19, 20-year-olds fired up for rivalry games. A lot of these guys from Texas, they've all played together. High school, all through the AAU circuit, whatever the hell it is. They have all played together. So Oklahoma's going to bring it. Oklahoma will rebound. It's minus 110 to take them as the underdog selection. So there's where I'm going, Ray. Oklahoma and Texas. Even you are probably sold on that bet du jour.
After that breakdown, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Dessert for today. We've all wondered about Deja Vu. Ray, do you believe in Deja Vu, that it exists, this phenomena known as Deja Vu? I do. I think it's there.
I have experienced the phenomena. What is it? But I have experienced it, yes.
Yeah. Well, I may have said this before, but we're going to tell you about Deja Vu and what the latest science says that Deja Vu and why it is. I'm a believer in Deja Vu. And Ray, that is one of those things that if I believe it, you start to think, well, what does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
It may mean that we're all just in kind of a Nathaniel Hackett-controlled universe that really we have no control over. Maybe it is. What do they call that in the Matrix, Ray? What do they call it? It's a shiver in the whatever they.
You're in the Matrix. It's just
There was they had a certain term for it, a mistake in the Matrix or something like that. And I think that's what Deja Vu is, Ray. It's this Matrix we're living in, and sometimes the lefts and rights get confused, and we see things we shouldn't. So that's what I believe. And believe me, I haven't had any acid this morning.
Anomaly? It was an anomaly, right? Was it just anomaly?
No, not an anomaly. It's a something in the Matrix. I haven't watched that movie.
I haven't either. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised, Ray. That one would be right up your alley.
I have books on it, talking about the cave and Plato and all that. So I've got stuff about it, but I haven't watched the movie in a while. Yeah.
Flim 2002 says it's a glitch in the Matrix. I thought there was a fancier term than that, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. That's what I believe Deja Vu is, a glitch in the Matrix. Ray, drink special for today. What are we enjoying as we get set for the weekend?
Yeah, it's the weekend almost. We've got Ollie's birthday party tomorrow to celebrate.
Oh, thanks for the reminder. Yep. My God.
Yep,
I forgot to RSVP, but Ray, I'll tell you now, I'm not coming. Okay.
We figured by now. We're going to have a good turnout, by the way. We'll take some pictures. Maybe we'll share them on Monday. I've obviously got my tie-dye going here. I'm really excited for the weekend. So I'm I've got a can right here, but it's not a beer. It's a Cutwater Tiki Rum Mai Tai.
Those are the guys. Don't they make the? They make like the
Moscow Mules and all kinds of
all that stuff. Yeah, I haven't had that Cutwater. Is it legit?
It's not a Mai Tai. It's a fruity drink. So Trader Vic's, Trader Vic actually created the Mai Tai years ago. They sell Trader Vic's in cans. Those taste much more like a Mai Tai. This is a fruity drink masquerading as a Mai Tai. It's way too coconut forward to be a Mai Tai. It's not even close. But for what it is, it's very tasty. It's 12.5% alcohol. So, Kyle, you have a couple of these, you're doing pretty good. Yeah. It's very nice to have on a warm day or in a tiki mug, but it is not a Mai Tai. Don't be mistaken for that. But if you're looking for a good fruity drink and you like coconut, it's a good one to go with. I
need the ABV, Ray. Where does it stand on that sucker?
12.5%, Kyle.
What?
12.5%.
Well, now you're speaking my language, Ray. I don't care how coconut forward it is. Sign me up.
Yeah, it's got a Bali High tiki shot and a gold rum tiki shot, 12.5%. Boom.
Now, how much is a can?
How much does it cost?
Yeah, a can.
I don't know if you can buy singles. They usually sell them in a 4-pack for like $15, but they were on sale and I got a 4-pack for $10. So $2.50 each for Ray.
Let me do the math here, Ray. This is how we in the drinking business do the math.
Okay.
See this. So you got 4 12-ounce cans,
right?
$15, let's say.
Right.
Let's make it simple.
Yep.
Each of them are 12.5.
Yep.
So 4 times 12.5, we got 50%. This is what I called 50%. So Ray, a Bud Light is I think 4.2.
Right.
You in effect have to drink an entire 12-pack of Bud Lights to get the same alcohol as your 4-pack of that stuff.
Right.
That 12-pack of Bud Light will probably cost the same.
Okay.
It will have 144 ounces of liquid.
Yeah. And what are the calories? I don't know what the calories are.
Probably about, I think a Bud Light's maybe 110, 120.
I don't know. I have to look this up. I don't know what this is.
That's got to be high with all that sugar in there. That's probably sitting at 220, I bet.
Okay,
but what I'm getting at, Ray, is you don't have to drink 150 ounces of this stuff to get to the same place that a 12-pack of Bud Light would get you.
I'm throwing cans everywhere.
Listen to all Ray's aluminum beer cans
right?
all over the floor.
It's not. So I got the box because I knew the box was in the garbage can. It doesn't say.
Ray, I'm incredibly confused because in California, don't they have to tell you everything?
Yeah,
that's in anything?
I'll look that up. But see, there it is. There's the Cutwater Bali High rum that they throw in there.
Now, usually, Ray, on the side of the can, you'll find the calories.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't see it.
Okay. Well, you get to work on that while I talk about my drink for the day. Mine is simple. Mine is not near as creative nor inventive as what Ray's talking about. I am headed out to the country this weekend. Out to my sister, her company. They allow all of us, the family, the immediate family, to go out to a couple of cabins that they own once a year. So Ray, this weekend is cabin weekend. It's out in the middle of nowhere, a big lake, all that. The whole family comes in, big giant, houses, cabins. It's not something the elf rings traditionally do. A couple of us are outdoors people, but most of us are not. But we do like going to the cabin, Ray. It is taking place this weekend. It is a very chilly weekend here in the Midwest. Like tomorrow morning, we're going to have lows like at 35 degrees.
Wow.
The highs are going to be like 66. Going to be a beautiful fall day. I cannot wait, Ray, to literally sit down, probably starting around 10 a.m. and begin drinking tomorrow. That will be the plan, is to start that early. Now, what will be my drink? I plan, Ray, since it's fall and you need something to warm the soul. I'm thinking it's a whiskey weekend.
Okay.
I'm thinking it, and if there's a whiskey, a whiskey to go with. It's probably just going to be the old standby, the go-to, probably some Crown Royal. Okay. The problem is, Ray, you show up at the cabin with this, and even your family, who has known you for over 4 decades, says, "It's going to be one of those weekends, huh?" Is that what you're going to do, Kyle? That's what we're doing?
Yep. You're damn right.
So that is the plan. A bottle of whiskey.
You actually drink an entire bottle, Kyle.
Not anymore. What do you mean, over the weekend?
Yeah.
No, probably not.
That's a lot.
Yeah, the recovery. I could, but the recovery is just not there anymore. Now we rewind the clock 25 years ago, man, unstoppable. You know, I could do that, but not anymore. Plus, I got a kid that wakes up at like 6:30.
Yeah, you can't have that kid screaming. We did some recon, by the way, on the Cutwater Tiki Run.
That's the other thing. I'll be regretting this fun Saturday.
You would be. Well, and if you drank. Even if you drink 4 Cutwaters here, you might be regretting it too, depending upon how your body processes things.
Yeah, we got the numbers, Ray. What are we sitting at?
It's 350 calories, which is a lot. But if it's the same amount of alcohol content, if 4 of them, it's like a meal. It's like a meal if you have 4 of them, right? I'm looking at directly at their website. Their website says it's 24 grams of sugar per can. So that's like half a 7-Up. Right, but it's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, it's like 2 Hershey bars, isn't it?
I don't. And then it's got 24 grams of carbohydrates here. We've also seen 16 grams in another source, but the Bali High or the Cut Spirits, Cutwater says it's 24 carbohydrates. So it's not a drink to have on a diet. There's sugar in here, and there's more calories than normal. But again, if you're doing a 4-pack versus a 12-pack. I don't have a slide rule.
And that's what I was just going to say, Ray. You drink, and people that eat 12 Bud Lights. I realize there is only a portion of our audience that has ever done that. But that's about 1,400 calories if you drink 12 Bud Lights. Maybe you've never drank 12 Bud Lights, but maybe you've done 10 keg stands. If you've done 10 keg stands in a setting, this is probably the equivalent of the calories. The sugar, Ray, the carbs are probably where the sneak attack comes. With that Cutwater.
Yeah, and again, it all depends how your body processes. Like for me, I'm not a sugar guy, but I drink them. It doesn't affect me that way. But also would say this, that you're only you're talking about just the fluid intake. Like you only have to go to the bathroom, maybe 4 times with the Cutwater. If you're drinking those beers, you're in that bathroom all day. So I don't know.
Speak for yourself, Ray. They now have those attachments where if you're at the sporting event, it can run down your leg underneath your jeans, and you can just take a leak, and it stays right there. Kind of keeps your legs warm, and you're good to go. You don't have to go to the bathroom. You don't miss a snap.
I miss these. You can actually buy a catheter to use at a football game.
Pretty well, yeah. I guess that's what the kids would call it.
Okay, I didn't know that. Wow.
Can you imagine anybody? I mean, because I'm sure at every NFL game, somebody's wearing those.
I would imagine.
But last night, don't you feel like a fool if you're at that Broncos game and you're like, really? I stooped to this level. I am wearing this bag down my leg so that I wouldn't miss a snap of the Broncos and Colts. My God, why am I wearing this thing? I need to go to the bathroom. Anything to get away from this football game.
Okay. I've never used one of these, never seen one of those, never handled one of those. So I don't know what the quality is. But what if the quality of it is dicey, which I'm assuming it is, and you get patted down? And as you get patted down, it gets squeezed, and then it blows the urine.
It's not filled up when you're walking through security.
Maybe you've been pre-gaming, Kyle. Maybe, but from the time you left the car to get in.
Outside. They have Johnny on the spots, Ray. You don't need to pee in it.
You're in line. You got to go. You're drunk. You've had 6 Bud Lights.
You're obviously an amateur. You're obviously an amateur at this, Ray. You never snuck anything in.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway. Plus, you can just say it's a medical device.
Here's my Inogen. Here's my catheter. Come on, guys.
You think they're really going to challenge that when you say, dude, I'm wearing a catheter. Give me a break. It's doctor's orders.
That's what we get here on BSN. Inogen and catheter talk.
Okay, we're off and running on a Friday. Now, word of warning, we may hit a speed bump when we get back to this Colts-Broncos game. I apologize, but that's what we got to do. We got to recap that game. The other thing that's going to cause a speed bump in your life, injury report. It's not really good this morning, and it could get worse as the day goes along. When we return on Lunch Money, we got news on Amon-Ra St. Brown. We got news on Kyle Pitts. We got news on Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas. Who else is on here? We got another receiver. Who was it?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. We've got
Isaiah
Keenan
McKenzie.
Allen. Yeah. So everybody is going to be affected by this injury report. We will get to that in just a bit. First, though, let's say hello to Duke for the first time. He is hanging out in the Duke's Den. Duke, take it away.
Good afternoon, bettors. It's your boy Duke back and better than ever. presented to you, as always, by fantasyguru.com. Welcome back to Duke's Den, where we're struggling to find winners. Guys, we absolutely nail our under last night for Thursday Night Football. I told you, look, I made the total 39.5, 40 points. It was sitting at 42.5 at some spots, 42 in others. I hate to poop in the soup again, but we got to go under. So that's back-to-back unders with the college football and then NFL that do hit. But my God, we lose our parlay. Our Broncos money line paired with our London game on Sunday morning, Packers money line. We had it in our grasp. And Russell Wilson threw it away. Just an absolutely unbelievable game last night, obviously on Prime Video over there. Russell Wilson genuinely threw that game away with his 2 red zone picks as the Broncos drop another one. Questions remain about Nathaniel Hackett and his coordination and leadership there in Denver. But Russell Wilson's really the issue at hand that we have to talk about because the Broncos are committed to him 100%. Let me remind you of what was traded from Denver to Seattle for Russell Wilson. Number one, Denver received, obviously, Russell Wilson, their franchise quarterback, the cornerstone of the franchise, and a 4th-round pick that was thrown in. Seattle received Noah Fant, tight end, decent target in Denver, right? Not exactly lighting it up, but he does have 10 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown already through 4 games. They also got Drew Lock, a kind of mercurial wild card quarterback with a big arm who hopefully doesn't play, but if he does, has some talent, right? He was trending last night on Twitter.com, in case you're wondering how Russell Wilson did. Shelby Harris, a defensive end who's played in 2 games, but the biggest asset yet to be named, 2 first-round picks, one of which, number 9 overall, went to the Seattle. They got Charles Cross, 6'5" athletic freak from Mississippi State, who's now anchoring their line over there at left tackle, started every single game thus far. They also got a 2nd-round pick. They turned into Boy Mafe, who is kind of a rush linebacker, 13 tackles and a sack already this year as a rookie. They also got an additional 1st-round pick and a 2nd-round pick next year, as well as a 5th-round pick they had this year that they traded away. So obviously some assets there that they have used effectively already. So it really leaves me with 2 questions. Number one, it's early days, but who won that trade? And if your answer is Russell Wilson and Denver Broncos, you're a moron. Number 2, who's the backup in Denver? Brett Rippon. Brett Rippon's the backup. So no, we're not going to see Russell Wilson benched. As bad as he's been, as bad as this Denver offense has been, they are pot committed. $124 million guarantee with a $92 million signing bonus. That's your guy. Bets coming up next hour. Adios.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
I'm going to say this, Ray, and I realize I'm the only person saying this today. And I love our man, Duke. And I love all of you. But can we hold off a bit on Russell Wilson sucks and he's finished? They lost the trade. They're terrible. They suck. I got a buddy who lives in Seattle, right? He's a season ticket holder. Mm-hmm. Well, he's been a season ticket holder with the Seahawks throughout Russ's career. He's even bad-mouthed Russ. It's like, wait a second. You can't wait till the guy leaves town and then, oh, he sucks. He's no. Give it a few weeks, right? To me, he's earned the opportunity to maybe fight through this a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I understand because, again, I get yelled at a quarter into a football game in week 1. I get it, right? But, Russell Wilson is legitimately going to the Hall of Fame. Okay? So, before we, again, people got to sell newspapers if that's even a thing anymore. They got to get clicks because I'm seeing all the articles too. They're is this the worst trade in history? It's like, what are you folks doing? Like, you've got a coaching staff who has shown itself to be inept. So bad to the point that they had to hire a secondary coach to help out the coach. Like, we all know there's problems here, right? There's injuries that they're dealing with too. It's a new team. There's all kinds of things swirling around here, but I refuse to believe, and so should everyone else, that a guy that was a Hall of Fame level quarterback for a decade goes to a different team and sucks. So what if that's the case? Everyone's thinking that. Remember that when you're drafting your football team, putting your football team together, because the way you're putting your fantasy football team together is wrong. Because you're drafting good players. You're drafting guys that put good numbers up last year. It's absolutely 100% the wrong thing to do if you believe Russell Wilson sucks now. Because the only reason Russell Wilson sucks now then would have to be because he was propped up by the scheme in Seattle, right? That's the only explanation. And when you have
the only other thing, Ray, is maybe this finger injury changed everything. Because really, he's been a totally different guy ever since that injury. Now, you would like to think, my God, it's been 11 months. We should be healthy. I don't know. Maybe we're not. But I look at last night, Ray, and that's decision-making to me. They were bad decisions. Like Matt Ryan on the other side, Ray, watching him, that made me nervous watching Matt Ryan. He didn't look comfortable at all. Mm-hmm. I thought Wilson at least looked comfortable a little more. Like Matt Ryan looked like his brain was scrambled. Like he didn't know where it was coming from or who to trust or how long to hold on to the football. Wilson, I thought, looked okay. It was just the decision, and a lot of the throws were off too. He had a throw to Jerry Jeudy that should have been an easy touchdown late in the game. Like Jeudy totally beat the coverage and was there in the end zone, and he overthrew him. And I thought that was the bigger issue. Like I look at both QBs last night, and to me, they had different issues. Like with Matt Ryan, it's like he shook. With Russell Wilson, he's totally off, and the decision-making was bad.
Yeah, and I'll go back to something that we talked about in the preseason over Fantasy Guru. It's a series of numbers that Jeff Mann's made popular all preseason. 10 new head coaches, 16 new offensive coordinators, 14 new defensive coordinators. The NFL went through a dramatic change this offseason in the coaching staff. Everywhere. Half the teams in football have a new offensive coordinator this year. Everything's different. And when you put then a new player in a new system, when you double down, which is what's happening here, right? New coaching staff in Denver, new quarterback in Denver, you got issues. And, the idea that, the idea that Russell Wilson is washed up, I can't support. The idea that Matt Ryan is washed up, it's easier to support, right? Mm-hmm. Not saying we're all the way there because people are saying that too, but it's much easier to support that given his lack of athleticism, given his diminished arm strength, given the way he's looked, like you talked about. Like there's just a different look when you're watching these guys play quarterback. But this is sports. Overreaction is, again, people yell during the first half of games in week one. I mean, this is what the world we live in now. If you don't do it absolutely immediately, as soon as this sentence is over, if someone's not doing it, they suck and they're out, Kyle. That's how people view things.
If you own Matt Ryan right now, and I know there are people out there with Wilson and Ryan as their two QBs, Ray, I'm not going to push back necessarily on the idea of moving on from Ryan. I wouldn't. And that's, boy, if you had told me 5 weeks ago I'm saying that, I would have said no way, no how. Yet, Ray, now I don't blame anybody who makes that decision. If you're doing it with Russell Wilson, I'll blame you. With Matt Ryan, Ray, if there are other QB2s out there that are doing things, make the move. I don't really have an issue with it. Who knows when Taylor's back? The receiving game's so-so. Alex Pierce stepped up last night, but it's still a very unexciting attack. The offensive line, like they changed everything on the offensive line last night. They were moving left tackles to right tackles to right guard, bringing in rookies. They lost their center. Like it's a mess. Yep. And almost for only that reason, right? Move on. Like they may start winning games, but they're not going to be 28-point victories. They're not going to be the Colts scoring 35. That ain't happening, I think, this year for the Colts.
Yeah, yesterday, every Thursday, we have Tyler Beaker of FantasyGuru.com on, and we talk about Thursday Night Football. And he mentioned he echoed a comment that I also made here on the show because we both made it at the site earlier this season. We both picked the Colts to win the division. We both picked the Colts to be a really good team this year, and they suck. And yeah, injuries are, that is the great equalizer no matter what, no matter how good your coaching staff is or isn't. That's a great equalizer. And we can talk about that, but we can also talk about, objectively analyzing a situation and say, what do we get at the end? And at the end, I totally agree with you on Matt Ryan. I mean, again, we've joked about this. My Dynasty League team, I've got Matt Ryan. I tried to replace him with Daniel Jones. I tried to replace him with Justin Fields. My quarterback situation is a mess. I mean, it's 16 teams, 50 roster spots. It's a huge league. But again, I have Matt Ryan. I think I got Daniel Jones. I got the answer, right? I got the new Matt Ryan. He sucks. I go to Justin Fields because Daniel Jones, he sucks. Like,
yeah, Ray, you're like the Jets trying to find a quarterback, man. It's like ever since Joe Namath left, you're lost at sea.
Pretty much. I just need Josh Rosen on my team. Yeah, it's been bad. And, Matt Ryan looks old and he's not athletic. He can't challenge the defense deep with his – like there are very few reasons right now in a 1 QB league to be saying Matt Ryan should be rostered. I agree with you.
Okay. We will maybe have a little more on the Colts and Broncos as we continue on this edition of Lunch Money, brought to you by fantasyguru.com. But Ray, injuries are kind of where we have to go next because we got a lot of news shaken this morning. Probably the biggest news, Kyle Pitts is out for week number 5. So like I said, Ray, people were moaning about 4 points. This week they're getting 0 from Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the issue, right? At least we know, so we can make a move. I hope you can make a move. Not every league has open waiver wires. Hopefully yours does. I was talking to Kyle about this off the break. I legitimately have him on half my teams. I don't like carrying 2 tight ends. I got no choice now. I've held off doing it to this point. I obviously have to do it with Pitts being down. When things start this badly, and they have for Pitts, he's played 1 decent game statistically. He's had 1 decent game statistically, and now we're dealing with an injury. It's very rare to see it turn around. And so now, while I was saying, maintain the faith, and everyone was saying maintain the faith, and you don't go to the waiver wire and add, Cole Kmet, like it doesn't do anything for you. Now we might be in that zone because how long is he going to miss? How much time is he going to be on the sidelines? When he comes back, is he going to be limited? Is he going to have a setback? When are they going to make a change of quarterback? If they make a change of quarterback, what does it mean for the offense? This started out with so much hope. And it's amazing to think that we're legitimately in a scenario now with Kyle Pitts that as bad as we felt about last season, that effort could be dominant compared to the season we get this year.
I just thought of another reason why Kyle Elfrink, refuse to invest in tight ends. It's the situation you're dealing with, Ray. You're going to have to drop, I don't know, a wide receiver, somebody to go get a bum tight end. Any thought? Now, see, if I got a bum tight end already and he's hurt, I just drop him. I go to another tight end. But now you're going to be eating up 2 roster spots for maybe this week and multiple weeks with 2 tight ends. You hate that. I know you hate that. Is there any thought, Ray, to say, I'll just take a 0? I'll just take a 0 at tight end instead of dropping Zay Jones. Instead of dropping Zay Jones, I'll take a 0 at tight end this week.
I just pulled it up as we're talking here, the FSGA league, the experts league there. I have Kyle Pitts. I'm 3-1. With Kyle Pitts being atrocious, I'm 3-1. And again, he was my 3rd round pick. I go to the waiver wire and your boy Will Dissly is sitting there. It's Hayden Hurst.
You can't spell touchdown without the D in Dissly, Ray.
Hayden Hurst, OJ Howard, Noah Fant, Cameron Brate, your man Juwan Johnson too.
Oh, wow. I dropped Kyle Pitts for Juwan Johnson.
Right? So it's like, and remember too, Dawson Knox is out this week, another tight end. So now we have every league where there's 2 teams that are going to be vying for those guys off the waiver wire. So
now who would you be dropping from that if you went out and got Juwan Johnson? Who's the guy that's going to get dropped on your team?
In that league, I have DK Metcalf and Jamar Chase as stars at the wide receiver position, but that's the weak link because both Mecole Hardman and Chase Claypool have not hit. I was hoping
you got to release one of the 2.
Well,
you're going to release one of those 2.
The problem is I only have 5 receivers on my team, and the 5th guy is Ben Skoranek. So, this is what happens when you take a tight end early. I had thought I had a dominant tight end, and my receivers were going to be okay. I thought Hardman or Claypool, one of the 2 would hit. They haven't. I'm very reluctant to drop one of those receivers, even though they haven't hit anything, because I have no depth. I don't have, if I drop one of those guys, am I starting Ben Skoranek next week? So I'm looking at my team here. I'm probably going to have to drop. I'm either going to have to drop, Benjamin, who's behind the beat up James Conner, who's always dealing with injury. I don't have him on my team. Or Zach Moss.
Drop Hardman.
I can't.
Yeah, you can, Ray. It doesn't matter if he's depth, if he sucks. If your fifth receiver, I get it, you don't have depth. Part of the reason you don't have depth is because McCole Hardman is a part of your depth.
The problem with that, so it's a 14? It's a 14-team league. So I'm looking at the waiver wire right now. The number one point producer at the wide receiver spot right now is Sterling Shepard, who's done for the season. The number 2 guy is Alameda Zacchaeus. The number 3 guy is Jamal Agnew. That's what's on. Randall Cobb, Kendall Bourne, Equinemius St. Brown. There's nothing there. If I drop Hardman, who's done nothing, I pivot to a guy who's worse. I pivot to guys in a worse offense who has a worse outlook. I can't do it.
0 then.
That's an option. And I haven't, again, the news just came down, so I'm not doing this during the break, right? Trying to manage a roster here as we're doing the show. So I'll have to consider it. I'm 3-1 with Kyle Pitts scoring 5 points a week. I mean, so I'll have to consider it.
As much as I love Jawan Johnson, Ray, and God knows I love him this week. Top 10 tight end, by the way. I would still drop. I mean, I would have no problem dropping Hardman. You're in dire straits now. I would really drop Hardman if I found out this Pitts thing is longer than a week, but we don't know.
We don't know yet.
And it kind of popped up suddenly. It's a hamstring.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, even if it is only a week, is he really 100% come next week? Iffy. Now, we got other hamstrings. In fact, Kadarius Toney, Ray, he's out again. Everybody knows that. I mean, I know I'm not breaking, but Ray, now it's not one hamstring. Kadarius Toney has injured both hamstrings. What will he think of next? How will he miss the next game in his storied NFL career?
He will injure his third hamstring. This guy.
This guy. Just leave it at that. This guy.
And,
This guy. Other wide receivers who have actually performed. Tyreek Hill is iffy with this quad injury. Keenan Allen probably not in a good spot with his hamstring. Michael Thomas probably not in a good spot with his toe. Good news would be Amon-Ra St. Brown back to practice today. Good news would be Bateman. It looks like he's going to be back at practice and ready to go. We hope. Breece Hall is limited. There's a lot going on, Ray, that could change. A lot of builds this week. A lot of start-sit decisions. The big ones, obviously, being Hill and Keenan Allen. And I sit here right now, Ray, and I think Allen's probably out. And I think Hill could be out. I think that's very possible come Sunday.
Why is it that every leading wide receiver, when their quarterback gets hurt, they're suddenly injured? Am I the only one noticing that? Interesting. Just saying.
Well, I think they refuse to play the game because they're.
I certainly think that that's what's going on with the Saints. I mean, but watch what's happened the last couple of years with Michael Thomas. When Jameis Winston's not starting quarterback, he ain't playing.
What could possibly be his attraction to Jameis Winston or center?
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want to play with Taysom Hill, doesn't want to play with Drew Brees, doesn't want to play with Andy Dalton.
Okay, so that's what's going on, huh?
That's what's going on. But yeah, no, Amon-Ra St. Brown returning to practice is obviously a big deal here. The Giants, again, it's not just Toney, right? We heard Wan'Dale Robinson might play. He's now been ruled out too.
Kenny Galladay as well. Don't forget that one.
Kenny Galladay is out. We know Sterling Shepard is out. I mean, is Darius Slayton actually going to get some looks this week? Daniel Jones is going to play through his ankle issue. How effective he'll be, we'll see. But this is a mess. I mean, another scenario too, the Bills, we mentioned Dawson Knox is out. Right now we've got Isaiah McKenzie, who's still in the concussion protocol. Yeah. So that does not sound like he's going to play.
Crowder, for those who missed, Crowder's got a broken ankle. He's gone.
Yeah. So Khalil Shakir, if he's still on the waiver wire, he's probably out in deeper leagues. But if he's still on the waiver wire, that's not a bad option because we know the slot position with Josh Allen is productive. We've seen that happen already this season. So Shakir is not a bad pivot if people are looking for a depth play at the wide receivers position.
Are you paying attention at all to David Montgomery getting the limited practice?
Not it, right?
Man, I'm highly doubtful that he plays, but maybe we'll get a surprise. And I know for everybody who picked up Khalil Herbert, that's a punch in the gut. I mean, everybody picked him up, Ray, with the idea if I'm going to get at least 2 and maybe as many as like 4 starts here with Khalil Herbert. Gosh, it may end up being 1 for Khalil Herbert. I guess there's at least a chance we see David Montgomery on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's be very clear about this, because I've seen this question in the Discord over at fantasyguru.com. I've seen it on the interwebs. People can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @TheRayFlowers. This job, without question, 100%, is David Montgomery's when he's healthy. Khalil Herbert is not taking this job over. I don't know where people got this or where this came from. It's not happening. Is Khalil Herbert going to be involved? Yeah, sure, he's going to be involved. Could it end up being a situation like the Broncos with Gordon and Williams? Yeah, sure. But the lead back is David Montgomery when he's healthy, period. It's just how it is. And that's what we've run into a lot, because there's a lot of these scenarios too. Like, I'm getting a lot of Jeff Wilson questions. Do I trade for Jeff Wilson? Like, well, when Elijah Mitchell's back, Elijah Mitchell's the starter with the Niners. So are you going to make a trade to get a guy for a month? What if Mitchell makes a quicker recovery than anticipated? Same thing with Herbert here. If you didn't draft Herbert to handcuff him to Montgomery, which is what you should have done in every scenario, every single scenario that should have been done, because Khalil Herbert was a 13th round draft pick. What are you going to do? How much did you pay for a guy that, like you're saying, Kyle, may have only had a couple of week run for you? It's tough.
So we'll see what the practice report says on Montgomery. Again, Breece Hall, you're going to want to follow that practice report. Rashad Penny was back at practice yesterday. Good news there. I saw Gerald Everett showed up on the injured list. Logan Thomas, I think, is officially questionable with the Commanders. So that may be another tight end that we're going to have to worry about. But the biggies are Kyle Pitts is out. Keenan Allen, highly questionable. Probably the same for Michael Thomas. But Amon-Ra St. Brown back at practice. So that would pretty well indicate that he's going to be ready to go for that game against New England. And speaking of the Patriots, Brian Hoyer was placed on IR with that concussion. So, Ray, maybe we get to see a lot of Bailey Zerbe or Zappa, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Mac Jones could be back next week too. But man, I do have, Ray, and I'm embarrassed to even say this. I do have some shares, and I am starting the Detroit Lion defense this week against New England.
Wow.
I'm taking a stab at it. It does break one of my rules. I like having a home team defense. I don't have that with the Lions, but I do have a rookie quarterback that they're facing and an offense that isn't all that thrilling. So I'll take a chance and see if the Lions show up and play hard on Sunday.
Well, to put it out there, for the second day in a row, Mac Jones was on the field during the media portion of practice. For the second day in a row, the reports are he was basically standing on the field. So it doesn't sound like he's really doing anything. He is out there, which I guess theoretically leaves open the possibility of him playing this week. But I don't get the sense from the beat writers at this point in time that they're really expecting that to happen.
We'll see if any other news comes out over the next couple of hours. Again, a lot of these practice reports start coming out at like 3 and 4 Eastern. So stick around for Corey Nando and friends. They will get them as they come in. We will see a few of them. And anything that we see, we will pass it along here on Lunch Money. When we return right here on the show, let's dig into some of these Week 5 matchups. We got a lot of games to make our way through. So we'll break down some of the matchups, including the Steelers making a trip to Buffalo, Miami taking on the Jets without Tua. Chargers are on the road in Cleveland. Those and a few others all coming your way next on Lunch Money right here on the Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
I think it's hard to judge Daniel Jones. He's got no offensive line and he's got no weapons. So, he still made a couple of bad decisions this year, but it's really hard to judge him. And that's the difficult part for the Giants. They have to figure out if he's the guy. How can you make that assessment when he's throwing a Kenny Golladay who can't catch anything?
Jones in a shotgun set. Back to throw. Has time. Fastball to the right side. Golladay makes the catch, but then he fell down and he never controlled it. It's incomplete. He tried to run away from the defender and he dropped it.
Richie James, look at this. It is bad. They really need Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney out there. And even then, that's still not enough. And I believe Daniel Jones is the most pressured quarterback in football. And it's going to be hard for him to have success.
Corey Nando and friends, presented by Mayo Media.
What can we say about 5 more passes batted at the line by Baker Mayfield? That's 12 for the season. I've never seen anything like this. Last year's leader had 17 for the entire season. Mayfield's on pace for 51, and the Panthers barely throw.
Thank you. They barely throw. They don't make no explosive plays. They can't do nothing offensively. But when you look at this team, they ran 51 plays yesterday. They had 220 total yards. They ran the ball for 40 yards. They threw the ball for 180. On the throws, it was under 5 yards a pass. They are using their short passing game as a running game, but it ain't going nowhere. There's no explosive plays from anybody. Baker Mayfield's a dog, and that was just a terrible display of football. There was a reason to boo. There's a reason to be calling for Rule's job. There's a reason to want everybody out in Carolina because that thing is pitiful.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
We are hearing reports, Ray, that people felt this was so unfair and so dastardly that people are like changing rules and allowing folks to remove Kamara from their starting lineup. You cannot break this rule. This is lousy, Ray, and I hate the precedent that some people are setting with this.
Later on, the commissioner said, oh, yeah, sorry, you didn't get up at 6 a.m. today. We'll allow you to make a switch. Sorry. If you're mad at something here, you don't get mad at your league, you don't get mad at the rules, you don't get mad at your commissioner, you get mad at the bloody NFL, who I have said all along, what are we doing here? Why are we trying to take over the world?
It's just bad luck, Ray. This happens a lot, doesn't it? It just doesn't happen with the likes of Alvin Kamara. You got to be awake when the actives and inactives come out.
But again, if you want to lay blame, it's the NFL. Why is the NFL playing games that the majority of the people in the United States aren't even awake for? What are they doing? Isn't it our league? North America's league, or is it Europe's league? So if you're mad at someone, you're mad at the NFL.
The event of the fall, a red carpet affair, has been scheduled.
On the 8th of October, there will be his second birthday party at a distillery near the beach where they make hooch. So we're going to have a party. There'll be other puppies there. There'll be drinks. There'll be food. There'll be merriment on October 8th. Word on the street is Beyonce might make an appearance this weekend.
All the single ladies, all the single ladies.
You were invited, to which you laughed. I don't think you're going to fly out here.
Yeah, Ray. I'm not booking a flight to San Francisco for a dog party. I've got other things going on here that I don't have time for that for. I'm certainly not going to dip to the level of like RSVPing on the website. Okay, I don't even want my name because I know how dog people are, Ray. If I say I'm not coming to your dog party, they're going to attack me. Dog hater, you hate dogs.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Okay, tomorrow's the day, Ray. I'm not going to be there, but I expect to see a lot of photos online or on Instagram or Twitter. You're gonna be posting photos, right?
There'll definitely be photos. Yeah, I'll throw those photos up. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at the Ray Flowers. You can follow the puppy at Ollie Aussie Dog.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be a grand video put up at some point, either today or tomorrow or Sunday, by not Ollie because he doesn't have thumbs, but by his mom. She'll probably be the one posting. Kyle.
Well, again, I'm not going to be there. I apologize. How many people we got on the guest list or dogs? I guess we'll include humans.
Oh, well, humans,
canines, and felines. If there are any, how many animate objects are showing up at this thing?
Reports suggest upwards of 10 puppies and 28 people. So that's what we're now. Again, there's some people that haven't RSVP'd that we know are showing up. Maybe the people, you know how parties go.
Yeah.
But roughly,
well, I know how parties. I don't know how dog parties go.
Yeah,
but I know how parties go.
I don't know how many bottles of whiskey are going to be drank, but roughly 40 people and puppies are scheduled to attend.
Is this going to be like just Alpo cans everywhere? Like the dogs are just going to go crazy and trash the place?
No, it's an outdoor venue, and it's puppy friendly, of course, and so there'll be puppy friendly foods. I don't think there'll be Alpo. There might be some chicken breast. There might be some rice.
Wait, like real chicken breasts, like real chicken breast.
The party. There'll be a cake, of course. And there's definitely they're not brownies, but cupcake brownie things for the puppies. There's like party favors. Each puppy will get one of those. So they're made for the animals. It's not human food. It's puppy food. But they'll be getting those too.
Okay. Well, that should be fun. I cannot be there, but Ray, I do have a piece of advice as my gift to Ollie. channeling the immortal Bob Barker. Let me just remind you to make sure you spade and neuter your pet.
Good job, Kyle. Good job.
Yeah, that is my gift. Just a reminder to spade and neuter all pets. I would tell all the other dog owners as well to dismember their household animals as they go through. We don't want a bunch of dogs, Ray. Like 10 at a party's already too many. I don't want 50 showing up next year.
No, 10 is not too many. But you're right. And it's more with cats that's really a problem. But to your point, there's a lot of people out here in California that don't spay and neuter their puppies until they're 2. I don't know where this began, like some idea that the animal's not fully developed.
Probably in China, I would think.
Well, it's like we always did it like at 6 months, like my whole life. I've had dogs and cats literally since the day I came home from the hospital. So I don't know where the new let's wait 2 years to make sure the puppy's fully developed thing came, but a lot of people do that.
Maybe it's a good reason with dogs. I don't know. Maybe
I don't know.
They can't receive communion until they're 2 years old, and they can't be spayed or neutered until they're 2.
Oh, I did not know that. I'll have to look into that, Kyle. All right.
It was in Vatican II. If you had followed up on that, they stated that. But
I read the encyclicals, Kyle. I didn't remember that was in there. I'll have to check again.
Yeah, it is. You got to dig way to the back. It's near the index or something. So got to dig way back there to get that information. So have a great time tomorrow, and can make sure to spotlight some of those photos. Does Ollie maybe have a hookup going for the party? Is there a possibility of some romance in the air?
His best gal friend, Kiwi, will be there. They have had an infatuation with one another since the moment they met. So,
wait a second. He's an Australian shepherd dog, and correct. It's very common, Ray, that he would be attracted to a Kiwi. I mean, those are the New Zealanders right next door.
Right. This Kiwi is not from Australia, but good call, Kyle. Okay. They're very mismatched. She's a brindle dog that kind of looks like a Weimaraner pit bull mix. Is neither one, but much taller, much bigger. But they love each other, Kyle. I don't think it's going to ever get amorous. They don't show those attraction, but they do love each other for what it appears.
You sound like a parent on Bridgerton right now. Oh, he's attractive, but she's just not good enough for little Ollie. Ollie deserves something better.
Ollie deserves an angel. He's so perfect.
Okay, well, happy birthday to Ollie. Apologies that I won't be there. Hey, I want to remind you to check out our brand new website, bettorsports.com. It's up, it's running. You obviously can listen to us or any of the shows on the website. Schedules up there, all the on-demand features, highlights from the show. Also, there is a Bettor Sports Marketplace on that website. Yes, indeed, a marketplace that has shirts, tumblers, beanies, blankets. You may find a Ray Flowers "What Would the Oracle Do" wristband on there.
You never know.
It's all available right now at bettorsports.com. So do check it out. Want to thank our producer. I think Heather Klein, Brian Draws, did they put that together? The little celebration for Ollie. So do want to give them a shout out on this Friday. Okay, let's get back into the fun. Let's get back into the football. The goal is to make sure we have better games the rest of week 5 than we did last night. That is the goal. Ray, let's start digging into a few more of these games. You started yesterday. We like to preview each and every game throughout the week. Miami and New York is up next. Dolphins and the Jets. This is a non-Tua game. He's out. It's Teddy Bridgewater. I saw that Mike McDaniel said nothing will change with Bridgewater, just as we told you. It's the same offense, and it's really the same quarterback. So that all checks. Miami is a field goal favorite here. My favorite prop, Ray, is actually the Jets to straight up win with an under of 44.5. Put those two together, and all of a sudden, plus 320. Jets are plus 150 straight up on the money line. You take the under, and you take the Jets, plus 320. I think the Dolphins, Ray, especially with this Tyreek Hill news, that's going to change things. If he's not out there, that's a huge bonus for the homestanding Jets.
Yeah, right. I think half of your bet sounds great. I think the other half, I can't go for the Jets at the moment. But to your point, the Tyreek Hill news is important. It's really important for this offense. So I wouldn't lay money on that, but Not terrible, Carl. Not
I'm
terrible.
feeling an upset straight up. I told you yesterday, I think Arizona straight up upsets Philadelphia, and I think the Jets have a win here. What's your favorite prop for this one?
I'm staying on the Jets side here, minus 115 for Corey Davis to go over 38.5 yards. Everyone wants to talk, or they wanted to talk about Elijah Moore last year. Now they want to talk about Garrett Wilson and Ty Conklin. Newsflash. It's Mr. Davis. He's gone for 70 yards in 3 of 4 games this year. He had tons of success last year with Zach Wilson when those two guys were on the field. 38.5 yards? I'm in. Sign me up.
Yeah. I'll go with my player to watch being Bridgewater, Ray. And I hope it's only 1 week, but we have to understand the reality. It could be multiple weeks for Tua Tagovailoa. So Bridgewater's pretty critical. How's he look on the road? I thought he looked pretty good against Cincinnati. I think being thrown into that situation, he did just fine. Obviously not enough to win, but I think this will be a chance for him to kind of face off against a team that isn't great, that isn't necessarily like an upper half team at all. This is a good spot for Bridgewater to land in, if you will. Now, it's going to help if he has Hill. If he doesn't have Hill, you got an uphill climb. But I think he's the guy to watch here. He's the guy I'm following. Who's the guy you got your eye on?
My player to watch is Raheem Mostert. It's really interesting. The last 2 weeks, he's basically doubled Edmonds in snaps. He's had 25 touches to 14 for Edmonds, so not doubled, but substantially higher there. He's got 75 scrimmage yards in 2 of 3 games. The thing holding back anyone talking about Mostert is he hasn't scored, right? Edmonds has been the guy that's had these random touchdowns. So I'm watching to see how that plays out this week. If we continue to see the workloads play out the way they have been the last couple of weeks, it's not going to be Edmonds we're talking about next week. It's going to be Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm certainly feeling Mostert over Edmonds. My guy to fade is Zach Wilson. Now, you might say, why are you fading a guy if they're going to pull off the upset? I don't think Zach Wilson's going to be at the 4 of the upset. He may be fine, but I don't see big numbers. I think Zach Wilson really, I don't need big numbers. I don't need big moments. I just need solid play. I don't need mistakes. I don't need interceptions. I don't need Zach Wilson to look like Russell Wilson or Matt Ryan last night. Just make the plays that are there. This is a chance, I feel, for him to get a pretty significant win. Last week, honestly, was a significant win for Zach Wilson. I know Pittsburgh is not the Pittsburgh of old, but you went on the road, you came back, and you won at Pittsburgh. Bravo. Good stuff. So let's see if you can now do it at home against a better team in Miami. I don't think it's going to be good for Wilson. I think it'll be a very ordinary game. I wouldn't be investing him for I feel the upset and he's going to have a big game. Not seeing it that way. He's my guy to fade. Who is your man?
My man to fade is Garrett Wilson. And, we talked about this a lot with Zach Wilson coming in, how the offense was going to change. It's 50 passes a week. It's 300 yards, each time out with Joe Flacco. Wilson comes in. Didn't look like that. He had a good drive at the end of the game for the team. Kudos to him, but he didn't play a good football game, made mistakes, couple of picks. And Garrett Wilson, 2 catches. He played a little bit more outside with Wilson versus out of the slot, so that's something to keep an eye on too. But 6 targets, in the first game with Wilson's a season low for this Wilson. So Garrett Wilson is the guy I'm fading.
Watchability 2. Maybe I could go 2.5, Ray, but I kind of settled in on, not a very exciting game. It could end up being a game in the 4th quarter you're going to want to follow, but I think on the surface, just a 2 for me.
Yeah, I'm going 2. Same number for me.
Okay, a 2 there. We got a lot of 2s, unfortunately.
Yep,
Let's go next to Jacksonville. This could be a 2. Jacksonville hosting Houston. Jacksonville, Ray, is a 7-point favorite. Now, I'll tell you right off the top, I saw that. And even though, 10 days ago, I'm like, man, Doug Peterson, possible coach of the year. I still believe that because if the Jags make the postseason or if they win 9 games, I think Doug Peterson could actually be coach of the year. But Ray, this is way too much credit right now. A 7-point favorite. That's where I'm going with my prop.
Okay.
Give me Houston and the 7 points to cover that. I mean, my goodness. Ray, that seemed way too pro Jacksonville. They ain't there yet. I like them. I think they're improving all that, but that was way too many points in their favor on this one. So that's my favorite prop, taking the underdog Texans to be within 7 on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's so funny, right? That, it's so funny. The Jaguars, the roller coaster they've been in the public's eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
They dominated opponent. They play crappy games. The quarterback is fixed. The quarterback isn't fixed. It's pretty interesting. That number, I agree with you. It seems pretty big.
What's the prop that you're playing in this one?
James Robinson over 74.5 scrimmage yards, which is a minus 110. Last week was the first week he didn't run for 64 yards. It was a bad game all around. Obviously, neither here. ETN hit 30 yards rushing last week. But if you look at Houston, to date, they've had running backs produce 175, 85, 169, and 109 yards. So 4 weeks, 4 guys with at least 85 rushing yards against them, 74.5 scrimmage yards for James Robinson. He'll get there this week.
Okay. He's actually my guy to fade.
Oh,
is Mr.
really?
James Robinson.
Wow.
And I liked what I saw early from Robinson, but I still feel that this team, Jacksonville, is going to be a little more pass heavy than we'd like to see if you own either of the running backs. And I still think, Ray, despite the results just not being there, they're going to continue to try and find Etienne some touches, find him some plays. I can't see them fully embracing James Robinson. It may be better for the immediate, like making James Robinson your running back would be better for the Jags right now. But for the long term, it's got to be Etienne as kind of your answer, a guy that is a difference maker, maybe too big of a word, but a guy that's really involved in the offense. That is an option in your offense. It's Lawrence, it's Etienne, it's Kirk. They're trying to build that trio. So I think that kind of hinders Robinson just a bit as we get deeper into the season. The fact that they're going to be thinking about, hey, down the road, what do we need in our backfield? And I think Etienne is certainly that guy. Now, my player to watch is Trevor Lawrence because, Ray, we had all the accolades after the Chargers win, and then we had all the crap of Philadelphia. So where are we with Trevor Lawrence? Are we going to go back and forth on this roller coaster one week to the next? I'm hoping it's a positive this week. It should be against Houston. Most notably, it's just got to be better than the usual Trevor Lawrence. Last week was a bad Trevor Lawrence. The usual Trevor Lawrence is a little bit better. We need to just erase both of those. We need to just keep moving forward a lot more towards that Chargers game. So I'm watching Lawrence. How about your two guys for the Texans and the Jaguars? A fade and a watch for this game.
My watch is also Lawrence because we talked about this. I was like, yeah, man, it's better. Forget last season, and then last week was last season. So really need to see a rebound there. I'm anticipating getting it, but want to see. My fade is actually ETN this week.
Okay.
Again, I think Robinson. Neither one of these guys were really involved last week. The offense didn't work. But Robinson right now is the guy in the backfield. Maybe that changes. Maybe the Achilles. Maybe he wears down. Maybe Etienne establishes himself. But right now, Etienne's catching 2 passes a week, and it's like 50 scrimmage yards. He's not doing anything. And I'm not, I'm not saying that Etienne. I said earlier he's not the answer. Etienne. I think I said that on Monday. He's not right now. Doesn't mean in the second half he's not a piece you can use. Doesn't mean the second half he takes over the backfield. But right now, I'm just not doing it.
How about to watch? Who's the guy that you're spotlighting?
Yeah, it's James Robinson.
Okay. So we're playing the opposite end of the coin on this one.
Totally opposite. Yeah, it's James Robinson this week. So he's I want to see a rebound. 8 carries last week. We'll see that number increase. He scored 4 times in 4 games. I mentioned last week was the first time he hasn't run for 64 yards. James Robinson.
Okay. Watchability. I'm going with a deuce.
We're hitting it out of the park this week. We're seeing everything the same, 2.
Okay. And just so people know the grading scale, last night's game was a 0. So this is a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5. We're trying to stay away from that Broncos Colts. Let's go to Detroit and New England. The Lions are on the road taking on the Patriots. New England favored by 3.5. The over-under here is actually all the way up to 46. Now, before we dig into this, Ray, we were telling the viewers about the Amon-Ra St. Brown news. He was back at practice today. That's a good sign for the weekend. In the chat room, there's a worthy question here. If Amon-Ra St. Brown is back, and again, I guess we're working under the assumption he is, does that mean Josh Reynolds is on the trash heap, or at least not startable? To me, Ray, in the, just point blank, I think it is. I think he has to go to the bench if St. Brown is out there. I think Reynolds really only has startable value if for some reason we don't have St. Brown out there for this game.
Yeah, and remember, too, that DJ Chark is trending toward playing. So Reynolds then drops even further down. Chark and St. Brown are ahead of Reynolds. Reynolds is a great guy to have. He stepped up, produced as we expected him to. We had him as a high-end wide receiver, too, I think, last week at fantasyguru.com. Great game. He's not usable with those 2 guys back on the field in any scenario. I mean, The only way you could use him is if you're trying to be cheeky in DFS, if you think St. Brown or Chark is going to be active, but have an in-game setback, that kind of a thing. If we're playing it straight, yeah, Reynolds is not a starter.
My favorite prop here for the Lions and their road trip to the Patriots, and this will actually contradict what yours truly said on Monday. On Monday, we were coming off that giant Hawkinson game, and I said, folks, it doesn't matter. It's still TJ Hawkinson. Now, understand, if you have TJ Hawkinson, you're starting this guy every week. So even if you believed what I said on Monday, you're like, okay, yeah, it's TJ Hawkinson. He's not going to – this isn't the takeoff to a top 3 or top 4 tight end season. Even if you believe that, you got to start him. You're not making a move to another tight end. Well, I'm going to play the other side, too, of my opinion, because I saw these odds and I saw the matchup. Patriots have given up 5 touchdowns to tight ends this year. 5.
Big
number. Giant number. So, Ray, the anytime touchdown for TJ Hawkinson – plus 190. I'm going for it. Give me the Hawkinson touchdown. I'm not going to predict 180 yards and 2 touchdowns like last week, but I'll take the 1 touchdown at plus 190. That's the prop I like in this one. What's the one that you like?
I mean, we say it all the time on the show, or I say it all the time on the show. Alan Lazard scores touchdowns. Damian Harris scores touchdowns. Just how it is. And we could talk just how it is. Damian Harris has 10 touchdowns his last 6 home games. 10 in 6 games, right? He's got 18 touchdowns in 19 games overall. This dude scores touchdowns. Oh, by the way, Detroit has allowed 8 rushing touchdowns to the running back in 4 games. That's 2 a week. Minus 110, anytime touchdown, Damian Harris.
Okay, player to watch for this early kickoff in New England. Who's the guy, Ray?
It's Hawkinson, who you mentioned. And maybe this is cheeky and obvious, but, one of the touchdowns last week, he wasn't covered. He had that massive game. We've broken it down many times. He can do a third of what he did last week, and it still would be like a top 8 tight end this season if he did that every week. First game he had over 40 yards was actually last week. First game with more than 3 catches in 3 games. So I know, everyone knows he's not repeating last week, but let's see. Is he more of the last week guy, or does he recede back with the return of St. Brown, with the return of Chark? Does he recede back to the 3-4 catch, 39-yard guy? That's what I want to like to see.
I had Josh Reynolds listed in this spot even before the news on St. Brown. I'm going to keep him in this spot as the player to watch, because if St. Brown's out, it's like, okay, do it again, Josh Reynolds. Is this purely, a PPR machine when St. Brown's out of there? If St. Brown's back, is there a role at all for Reynolds? So for everybody who picked him up and is kind of wondering what the status is, he's the guy to follow here, whether St. Brown's in or not. And again, I think it's trending towards St. Brown playing. But does Reynolds in that setup with Amon-Ra St. Brown out there, does he still have a role? Does he still get attention from Jared Goff and from this offense? And that leads me to my player to fade. Quite simply, Ray, I'm fading Goff. I know a lot of people may be starting him this week. I'm not really feeling it. We know about the home road splits. I think they're legitimate. You've got a dome in Detroit that is perfect. You've got the outdoor conditions here at Foxborough, which probably won't be. Might be sunny, might be good temperatures, but it could be windy. Could be a little colder than we might expect. It's just a little different. I think the New England defense is highly overlooked. They're a good defense. They're going to be at home for this game. I like him in this spot. I know that everybody's digging what Detroit is selling right now. Point after point after point. Defense is allowing points, so the offense has to score points. I think this week will break that trend. I think the Lions probably are under 24 points when it's all said and done. And I think they get beaten here, and I think Goff has a bit of a pullback in his numbers. So I don't like the start. I don't consider him going into this game to be a QB1 when it's all said and done for this week. So he'll be my fade. Who is your fade, Ray Flowers?
My fade is Hunter Henry. Even with Jonnu Smith and all that, I mean, Hunter Henry last week ran 12 routes. They didn't even run. And, you got young quarterbacks back there. You're trying to protect them. You're holding tight ends in the block, all that. 12 routes on 49 snaps with Jonnu Smith basically not playing. Ugh. So Hunter Henry, I know, I get it. Last year he had the 9 touchdowns and all that, but he hasn't hit 25 yards. He's got 5 catches in 4 outings. Just can't. Hunter Henry's out.
I'm going to give you a surprising watchability number, Ray.
Oh, you okay?
A 4.
Yeah, no.
for the Lions and the Patriots. And the reason I say that, there is some excitement with this Lions team, which we generally think of as a franchise for the last decade that has mostly sucked, right? It's mostly been that bad. Now there's excitement. They're scoring, they're winning, they have publicity coming off HBO and all that stuff in the offseason. So let's see you do it at New England. Now, traditionally, Ray, this has been a real proving ground. Teams that are up and coming, they go to Foxborough. Now, in years past, that Patriots team has been a playoff team. I don't know if we have that this year. I think they'll still be competitive. We saw that last week against Green Bay. I consider this a test. I know the Patriots aren't the Patriots, but I consider this a test for the Detroit Lions. So I want to see how they perform in that atmosphere. So again, give me a 4 on the watchability.
2. Yeah, I'm glad you found a storyline because I was struggling to find one.
Okay. Are you not excited by the Lions, Ray? Is there any interest in watching that offense? Do you feel like it's so wasteful because there's no DeAndre Swift? What's the problem?
Well,
here?
I just think it's on the road in Foxborough and it's not going to be good. I think we're going to be talking about what the hell happened. All the people now, they're singing the hosannas, right? The 45 points, leading the league in score. It's not going to happen this week.
That's what I want to see. That's why I want to see if that happens. If it doesn't happen, maybe we got something here with the Lions this season.
I'm pretty confident it won't happen, which is why I don't really care about the game. If I'm wrong, we got something with the Lions, to your point.
Okay. Correction. Thank you, Work and Grind in the chat room. I said for the decade. Work and Grind reminds me that the Lions have sucked for 65 years. Not just...
That's a long time.
Not just the last decade. I was giving a little credit to like the Stafford Megatron years.
Yeah,
those were kind of fun.
Success. Yeah,
those were fun. One more game to get to in this segment: Pittsburgh at Buffalo, and look at this spread, Ray. Buffalo by 14 points. Does that number say more about Buffalo or more about Pittsburgh? 14-point favorite, Buffalo Bills.
Yes, I mean because again. The Bills didn't play well last week. Okay. They're at home this week. They're facing a team they should beat this week. They're facing a rookie making his NFL debut on the road in Buffalo. I mean, this will be a fascinating scenario. Will Kenny Pickett, because if Kenny Pickett plays the way he played last week, it ain't going well this week. And since the Steelers aren't going to be able to stop the Bills, and they're going to have to try to push things unless they're just going to turtle and play Bears football and lose by 28 points. I understand why the spread's that big. Takes nuts, stones, balls to bet it, but I get it.
Okay, 14's big, man. Big number. I'll tell you the prop I like here. First drive for Buffalo, touchdown. That'll run plus 150. First drive, the result, the touchdown. Their first 3 games, they did that. First drive of the game, they came out and scored touchdowns. Last week, they didn't score a touchdown, but they scored a field goal. This is an offense, Ray, that comes out and usually has a game plan, the old 15 plays scripted kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They do that, and they come out, and they usually find a way in. They're at home facing Pittsburgh. Plus 150 on them to get a touchdown on the first drive that they have on Sunday. What's your prop?
I like that, Kyle. That's a good one. I can concur. I don't know if I like mine as much now. No, I still like mine, but it's 17.5 receiving yards for Devin Singletary. Like what? I mean, I get it. Running backs are volatile. Running backs don't always perform in the passing game for certain. The matchup, okay. Is this one where the Steelers are going to shut? No. So I mean, you look at if for nothing else, we don't chase points, but I mean, the last 2 games, has he caught like 13 passes? Like he can't get to 17.5 yards on this one. I'm very surprised by that. So I'm taking it. I'm trying to look up the number because I cut it off here. 17.5 yards is minus 135. So you don't get good odds for it, but I think
so. But man, you see that all the time with those running back props,
really
right?
Do.
And I'd love to see like the hit rate over-unders for just the running backs and not guys that are like known for being involved in the receiving game, but guys like Singletary can make a few catches here, the Derrick Henrys of the world who can make a few catches here. And we always think, Ray, man, 18 yards, that's so easy to get to, but how often do they actually hit that?
He's got 16 targets the last 2 games. Like I bet you're right, because I did a Pollard one earlier and he didn't do it. I think I did an Elliott one too and he didn't do it. So I bet you're right. But 16 targets in 2 games, how's he not get to 17.5 yards?
My player to fade is the guy he's competing with. I guess he's still competing, Zach Moss. And I don't know, Ray. it's a little bit of a tough hold at this point with Moss. Like, we're not seeing anything from him. Like, there just aren't the touches here, the opportunity. You know, you're always swearing up and down the pole about handcuffing. Does Moss have to be held on teams? Because there's nothing here. And I asked does he? Because, Ray, it's kind of that issue of, okay, Singletary goes down. Well, is Moss really the guy? Or is there other options there? You know, do you go with the rookie James Cook? I kind of feel that would be the move if Buffalo even lost Singletary.
Yeah, there is certainly that debate. You know, would it be Moss on early downs, Cook as the pass catcher? What do they do? I think that the large takeaway at this point in time is what we have both been discussing. They don't run the ball. So, you know, if it goes to Moss, I mean, what are we hoping for? 14 carries, 60 yards, which again, bye weeks, injuries, okay, but they don't look to establish the run anywhere near enough for people to be excited. Holding Moss is playing the long hope game, and it's not necessarily one that's going to pay off.
Player to watch for me is got to be George Pickens. And Ray, I don't expect Pittsburgh to have a very good game here. I don't expect Pickett to have a very good first start. This is almost as difficult as it gets, Ray, to have your first NFL start at Orchard Park against the Super Bowl favorite. This is a really tough matchup for him to have success. That Bills defense is pretty solid. I think, though, I want to see if Pickens and Pickett have any kind of rapport. Is there something developing here? Can we feel better? Even if Pickens' numbers aren't great, but if we're seeing, 3 catches on 9 targets, if we see that kind of big number, if we continue to see Chase Claypool ignored, that makes me feel a bit bit better about Pickens. I'm not going to sit here and predict a big game for him just because the situation is a tough hill to summit, but I think he's absolutely worth watching on Sunday. Who are your 2 guys, your fade and your watch?
My player to watch is Deontay Johnson because I am nervous about Deontay Johnson. And, we talk about this all the time. The change of quarterback changes how the player sees the field. You can call the same plays, but Trubisky doesn't see the same field that Pickett does. So where does Johnson end up? I mean, this is the worst game since week 5 of last season for him. In the 15 games between those 2 tank jobs, 7 catches for 70 yards was Deontay Johnson's average. With Mitch Trubisky and Ben Roethlisberger, not exactly 2 noted pass catchers. Last week, 2 catches for 11 yards. So what is his role in this offense? It's not going to be as bad as last week. But do we get back to the 10 target, 6 catch a week guy? Really want to see how that plays out this week.
How about
on the other side? What was that?
I'm sorry.
No,
I was going to say, how about the fade? But you're going to beat me to it.
Yeah. On the other side, I'm staying at the wide receiver position. I'm going to go with Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis caught 1 pass for 13 yards last week. It was a bad week. Okay. Gabe Davis has played 96% of the snaps, in 3 games, and he hasn't hit 40 yards. He is out there all the time. He's always on the field. He's always running routes, not getting the ball. Now, some of it is the ankle. Okay, I get it. He's not creating as much separation and all that. But what the hell's going on? And it's not just, hey, he was supposed to be a breakout guy, so he's been disappointing like Kyle Pitts. He's playing every snap, and he's not even getting targeted. So I can't, at this point in time, look at him and think he's anything other than like a low-end wide receiver 3 this week. And that's based almost solely upon he's catching passes from Josh Allen. We just haven't seen it to this point in time.
Well, and before, Davis was a guy who was so highly drafted. The price was getting kind of silly in the season. And a year ago I was saying, Gabe Davis this, Gabe Davis that. And, I guess eventually it worked out. He was my sleeper for 10 touchdowns. And what did he end up with last season? I guess 6. You add the 4 in the playoffs, he gets 10. So, but this year, Ray, the price has just gotten astronomical. Right. And I don't own him anywhere. I wasn't able to get in on that game. I'm glad I didn't, of course, thus far. For the people that did, it is worth noting, Ray. I mean, look at last season. Last season, he did nothing for the first 7 weeks or so. Like, he was available everywhere on the waiver wires. So understand this isn't totally out of the norm for Gabriel Davis. Now, we're a year later. You had the big playoff game. He's now the number 2, I guess, in this offense. So expectations were much greater than what he did through 7 weeks last year. But he kind of sucked in the first 7 weeks last year, too. So maybe patience is warranted there. Watchability for this Steelers-Bills game, give it a 3. There's the rookie QB. There's Pickens. There's the Bills, who are always worth watching. So I'll keep an eye on it, Ray. Give me a 3 on it.
Yeah, you're back to reality now, Kyle. I also
Okay.
have a 3 for this game. So I'm in agreement with how you see this one.
I don't know. Lions Patriots, Ray. It's going to sneak up on you. Going to sneak up. Question in the chat room, Ray. James Cook, is he the same as Moss or is he more of a hold? You were talking about that running back situation. Kind of the same, is he not?
Well, again, they're totally. What are you trying to accomplish? They're totally different players. I know a lot of people were kind of hoping that James Cook would take over the backfield. Let's hypothetically say that Singletary's out for 2 months, like he blows something out. What do? Again, I think it's a shared backfield now, and this is stupid and it's baseline analysis, but it's how I see the situation. We're going to get a lot of Moss on early downs. We'll get a lot of Cook on the later downs. So if you're in a non-PPR setup, they're pretty even because Moss is likely to get the goal line work. If you're in a PPR setup, Cook would surge ahead because I think he'd be the pass catcher. Would either one of them look at Singletary? Would either one of them be a player that you're starting every week as a running back 2 with confidence? No. I don't think either one of them profiles, at least right now, as someone that's going to step into 17 touches a week like Singletary either. So it depends on your setup, depends on what you're doing, what your backfield looks like, all that kind of stuff. But they have similar-ish outlooks, but they're get there in different ways, so you have to keep that in mind.
Still to come here on Lunch Money, presented by Fantasy Guru. We've got a look at the Cowboys and the Rams. The Chargers are in Cleveland this weekend. Rays 49ers on the road in Carolina. That and a few other games before we get out of here at 3 o'clock. We'll also take a look at the college football slate coming your way on Saturday. But when we return on Lunch Money, it is time for our treasure trove. It's a Friday, so Ray and I are digging into our collectibles bank right here at our abodes and pulling something out, showcasing it, talking it over, showing it off, whatever you want to call it. We'll do it next after we check in and say hello to Mr. Duke, who is in the den and probably has some bets. So, Duke, take it away.
Hey, good afternoon, bettors. It's your boy Duke, back and better than ever, presented to you, as always, by these guys. FantasyGuru.com. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to Lunch Money. Welcome back to Duke's Den, where I try to make you money one bet at a time. We didn't win money last night. We didn't lose a ton of money. We lost the juice. We go 1-1 on Thursday Night Football. Did a full breakdown in hour 1. If you missed that, of course, you can go get it on demand for as little as 10 cents a day. I think even under 10 cents a day. If you get Better Sports Network on demand, sign up there. But over on Fantasy Guru, in the Discord, we had bets going all over the place. And you know what makes a boring football game fun? Gambling. Having something on it. Of course, we had our under, which we hit. We also had our Broncos money line, which we didn't hit. Thanks so much, Russell Wilson. But it's not just me. It's Jeff Manns. It's Ted Schuster. It's guys like Siege and like Tyler Beaker, who I've brought up several times on this show, and they had themselves a night. I told you, gambling makes sports fun, right? Where would the NFL be without gambling in fantasy football? Well, Siege last night was all over Alec Pierce. And what I love about Fantasy Guru, and for those who don't know, I was a paying subscriber before I started working here, is it's not just the bets. It's not just the daily fantasy plays. It's the why as well. I like the reasoning behind, even if it's just an underlying stat or DVOA, or if there's some sort of mathematical explanation, great. Give me that. If it's some read that you have as well, great. Give me that. And Siege put this perfectly. He said, number one, that Alec Pierce was going to go over 34.5 yards. That was minus 110. But because of the matchup with Patrick Surtain against Michael Pittman, he thought Pierce was going to get a ton of looks from Matt Ryan, who'd be under pressure. He then takes over 39.5, over 49.5, over 59.5, over 69.5, over 79.5 yards. Literally more than double his actual prop. Bing, 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 bing. Nailed them all. Alec Pierce goes for 81 yards. He goes 6-0, cashing everything from minus 110 to plus 640. Unbelievable. And then, of course, our guy Tyler Beaker was on Alec Pierce as well. He also had head-to-head Cortland Sutton over Michael Pittman for that same reason. As far as yardage goes, wins that. He had Denver, Indiana first half under, hits that. Brandon McManus over 1.5 field goals, hits that, which I know Jeff Manns and a couple of other guys had as well. Just reading the game and figuring out different angles to attack is half the battle here, and that's why I love working over at Fantasy Guru. I'll give you one more bet, and then I'll give you a couple more in hour 3. Tyler Beaker likes Las Vegas Raiders plus 7.5. That's plus the hook is the key here, and that's over at FanDuel. Essentially, it's 7 everywhere. FanDuel gives you the hook. With the way the Chiefs defense has been playing, he does think the Raiders are going to score. I tend to agree with him. I like that hook. Don't love it at 7, like it at 7.5. Vegas Raiders, take it and go. Adios.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
And it's all sports all the time right here on Lunch Money. Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers with you. Baseball playoffs started up today. 4 games are coming your way this afternoon and into this evening. The first of those 4 is taking place in Cleveland, Ohio as we speak. And Ray, we are cooking through this game. It started like an hour and 40 minutes ago. And they are already in the top of the 7th inning. It's a 2-1 lead for the homestanding Guardians, and let's see, all 3 runs on home runs in today's game, right?
Yeah, who needs a pitch clock? Jose Siri hit his first opposite field home run of the season because, of course, playoffs. Jose Ramirez then hit that 2-run home run on the other side. Hitters had batted 143 with 1 home run on the 168 changeups they were put in playoff Shane McClanahan this year. So 168 at bats, 1 home run. Jose Ramirez took the pitch deep, 2-1 Guardians.
Always happens in the postseason that way, doesn't it? You know, you've got all these season-long stats. Oh, like I saw a number, Ray, and you probably have seen this because you're tackling all the baseball. Like Aaron Nola, who pitches tomorrow, is the first pitcher since 1884 to have over 230 strikeouts and under 30 walks. 1884, to which I saw that number, Ray, and I said, tomorrow against the Cardinals, he'll walk like 3 guys in 3 innings. You know, just watch. He'll just do it. He'll walk all these guys, something weird. Like the Cardinals themselves, they put their lineup. They're playing at 2 o'clock today. Their lineup came out, Ray, and I was telling you, it's the first time this year they've had this particular lineup. It took until the playoffs for them to put this actual lineup out in the field.
Yeah, and you see teams, they're sitting veterans. They're, calling up minor league guys, the guys on a 40-man roster. They're putting them on for defense or base running. Like it's really interesting to see how, what you do all season long to get you there isn't what you do once you get there. I don't know. I mean, if it works, great, but isn't it harder to justify to your fan base and everyone, well, we did so-and-so for 6 months and it worked great, and then we went to playoffs and we're doing something totally different? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think you can get away with it nowadays. Like I think maybe Toronto and Kansas City. I did a lot of stuff with lineups all season long. And Ray, it always felt like Toronto and Kansas City were the most. In Boston also ran like they actually kept things in an order. Like it was the same guy, and it wasn't perfect. Nobody's perfect on that. But those 3 teams, especially Boston, Kansas City, Toronto, always seemed to be the same guy in the general order. 7 of the 9 guys would kind of be in spots where the rest of baseball was everywhere. Philadelphia was pretty good. They kind of had a consistent starting 9. They've got Zach Wheeler going up against Quintana for that game today, 2 o'clock. Later is Seattle at Toronto. That'll start just after 4 o'clock today. Good pitching matchup there. Luis Castillo against Alek Manoah. Later tonight, 8 o'clock, San Diego is taking on the Mets, Yu Darvish and Max Scherzer. But again, 7th inning action right now. Cleveland is on top of Tampa by a score of 2-1, and Jose Ramirez, as you might expect, with the big hit there. Okay, Ray, it is time for our weekly dive into the treasure trove. You and I grabbed something from our personal collections to show off. So on this Friday, Ray, what are you pulling up? What are you showcasing?
Now, I have something. It's NHL. It's a puck, and it's signed. And it's signed by a gentleman named Michael Haley, who I will admit I don't really remember playing for the Sharks. He played 274 games in his career to date. Had his best offensive season with the Sharks in 2016-17. He had 12 points. So not exactly a guy. 128 penalty minutes the year before, 212 penalty minutes. You get the kind of player he is. So again, this gentleman's name is Michael Haley.
This is what we affectionately call a no-namer.
Correct. It's true. Though he played his first NHL game in 2009. So he's played a decade in the NHL. So, but 274 games. So it's Michael Haley. And the only reason I know it's Michael Haley, I would never know looking at his signature. I only know it because it's on the back of the puck. And so you can see here's the back of the puck. Okay, so the Sharks do this thing where, they raise money for charity, and they do a thing called the mystery puck. So you pay like $25, it goes to charity, and you get the puck that's in the bag. You have no idea who it is. It's one of, the list, like the 12 players that signed him or whatever, and you just take your chances. So one game we were at, got the puck, happened to be Michael Haley. Ray, this is a really terrible story. I get it. It's a terrible story. The reason, though, I have it is because it is signed, right? So there's his name, right?
Yeah.
And earlier this week, if you remember, for $2.3 million, the Star Wars X-Wing fighter that was actually used in Star Wars, the prop, was sold. $2.3 million from the original movie. Red Leader, right? We talked about Red Leader. That was one of the squadrons of the Rebels in Star Wars. Look what we got here. It was a puck from Star Wars night, and they're all wearing the red logo, Kyle. It's a Red Leader puck.
But here, the problem, Ray, is you're going to show that off, and people think one of the squadron leaders has autographed it.
Yeah,
they don't think Michael Haley.
Because you're right. Yeah, that's right there is Joe Thornton. I don't know who the other two are supposed to be. I guess one was probably Patrick Marlowe, and I don't know.
And they're wearing the squadron helmets.
Wearing the squadron helmets, right? So it's from Star Wars.
I like that Thornton. Now, see, Ray, what would be cool, I would take some white out and get rid of the Healy on. Just white it out.
Just that.
And Ray, I would take that. Yeah, no, take it to the other three guys and get their autograph, because that will make that cool. Now, it's like we got three images that are cool, and then this fourth guy who has no business being on this hockey puck.
Right. You know what? I'm actually going to look it up here to see because again, you can tell that's Joe Thornton because it's a beard and it's got gray in it.
Okay.
But I will. I'll look at this way while we're sitting here. But yeah, so it's my autographed Star Wars night. Random puck, Michael Healy.
Okay, pretty cool. Probably the worst of the ones you've had, though, Ray.
But it was we talked about Red Squadron, Star Wars. Yeah. It fit.
I know.
Just
it was just painful. It was just painful.
Yeah, it was like my one last week. We talked about Todd McFarlane buying baseballs, and I had the McFarlane figure. Come on, I'm trying to fit. You should be impressed. I have the mini Millennium Falcon on my desk that you randomly. You should be impressed. I'm hitting these things pretty damn good here. We're talking.
Ray, there are so many things to be impressed with you about. That's not one of them. Okay, that's not one of them. Here is something I got to be in. First off, this is I actually keep score at games. I go to a baseball game, I keep score. Right here is the Bob Carpenter baseball scorebook. Bob Carpenter is the television play-by-play voice of the Washington Nationals. He's been with them for well over a decade. Anyway, he produces these books. Big book. I think it holds like 100 games. You can get even bigger ones that hold a whole season. These are used a lot by actual broadcasters. These are sold. So anyway, I've got this book. Now, what am I going to show you? Well, the baseball playoffs started today. And if you see, what's that date? October 27th, 2011. Mm-hmm. Texas and St. Louis, 10-9. Might that be? Let me get this situated.
It's hard. I know. We're all backwards.
See that home run to center field in the 11th inning, Ray?
Okay, I see it there. Yes, at the end. Mm-hmm.
Now, see who hit it?
David Freese.
So this was the Freese game. I was at this game, Game 6 of the 2011 World Series against the Texas Rangers. David Freese also had the 2-run triple. This is actually at the game. I kept score. So, Ray, you got to get autographs of those three dudes. I need to get probably David Freese to autograph this.
Okay.
Because I got the actual scorecard of the game I was at. Jake Westbrook was the winning pitcher.
Okay.
So I need to get that autograph.
Right.
Mark Lowe was the losing pitcher. I need to get that autograph. It was a big game for Lance Berkman. It'd be kind of cool to get that autograph. Nelson Cruz made the boneheaded play in right field where he was like stumbling around trying to catch the ball. Would have won him the World Series. Instead, it was a 2-run triple. So my goal, Ray, this is like an artifact that is partially complete.
Right.
Is I've got the original scorecard. This is me actually keeping score, all the changes, everything.
Mm-hmm.
You see all the switches. Josh Hamilton was, look at that. Adrian Beltre.
Right.
Elvis Andrews, Ian Kinsler, Michael Young. Like, this is a good team, this Rangers team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Cardinals side, look at this. Raphael Furcal, Skip Schumacher, some guy, whatever happened to that Pujols guy? Yeah. I mean, so he was there.
Yeah.
Berkman, Holiday, Freese, Molina. Check out that third baseman. Nick Punto.
Punto.
Second base, Nick Punto. Can you believe that? Wow.
Is that? Do you have any autographs in that book, or would this be?
I don't have any. This book, I started this particular book. The first game I ever did in this book, not the first game I ever kept score, but May 10th of 2008. And Ray, we started with a barn burner, the Orioles at the Royals.
Barn burner.
But real good game.
Yeah.
But I'm almost through with this book. In fact, just a few months ago, I bought another book. So I'm getting ready to start the second book here. But,
yeah, I know. And that's been something I've known for years with you, that you go and you take. I've never actually seen it. So this is the first time I'm witnessing it with everyone else there.
Yeah. There it is, Ray. There it is.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think. You and I went to that game in Baltimore one time, but that may have been before I got this book.
I think that was 2012.
Was it 2012 that we went to
2012.
Baltimore? Really? Are you kidding me?
I can look it up. No, I can look it up.
Okay. Why don't you check that out? We got to hit a break. When we come back, we'll maybe get an answer on this.
I have another answer too for the puck. I can give that after the break.
Yeah, maybe you get that answer too. And when we come back, we got some college football. I think Matt Bruner is going to be joining us, getting you set for week 6 of the college football season. Man, I just got a pretty cool offer I'll have to think about here. You start talking about baseball and people are offering all sorts of cool things. But anyway, I will check to see if I kept score at that game. I don't know if I brought this with me to Baltimore. I was still single back then. If I walked around with this thing while I traveled, frightening. And Ray, you'll check the hockey figurines we got. Break here. Matt Bruning is up next, talking college football. We got more NFL action to discuss. All coming your way right here on the Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
I got to tell this story, okay? So we're out in Canton, Ohio, and we decide to go eat late at night, like after midnight. We decide to go to the Waffle House. Somehow, Fensty's never been there, even though he lives near it. I'm in New York, New Jersey. There's no Waffle House close by. So if you go to the Waffle House, what are you going to eat more than likely? Pancakes, waffles, eggs, and all that, right? So, of course, our guy Rich, he gets breakfast. I get breakfast. Fensty doesn't. He's never been to a Waffle House. How do you not have waffles? Like, it makes no sense.
Dude, there's a time for waffles.
I eat breakfast at midnight. Come on, man.
That's the thing. I didn't want breakfast, man. I got like a cheesesteak sandwich or something like that?
That's like someone who has never been to IHOP going there and ordering a burger. Who does that?
That I wouldn't do. That I would not.
That's the equivalent of what you did. Well, I don't even know what you had.
I got the steak sandwich, which was
steak sandwich at the Waffle House. Never been there, and that's what you get. You're an odd guy, man. You are
I'm not an odd guy.
Yes, you are. Can we get a vote? Can we get a vote in the chat, please? I mean, if you've never been to Waffle House and you get a steak wrap, something's wrong with you, right? Don't you have to get waffles and eggs and bacon and all that? It's the Waffle House.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It was my first time, okay? Ordering the hash browns was already complicated enough. Smothered and covered, and it's almost like it's crazy how much combinations you can have. And I know that everybody's killing me for it right now. And no, to our producers, I don't get pasta at a steakhouse or anything like that. No,
Alfredo, that's what he gets at the steakhouse.
Do you follow me on Instagram? I'm always on that grill. You know how much I love steak. Why would I go to a steakhouse to get pasta?
Because you go to Waffle House to get steak wraps. That's why.
I didn't know it was all waffles, bro. I thought it had like a little bit of everything. That's why. I didn't realize they were famous for the waffles. Hey, look.
The name of the place is the Waffle House. What else would they be famous for?
You know what? That's fine. I guess it's a hot take getting a steak sandwich. As long as it was good, I housed that thing in 10 seconds.
Okay, you were never there, and that's the first time. You're not going to try a waffle? Do you admit it was a mistake?
I don't really like waffles, man.
Bettor Sports Network. It's sports talk done better. It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
Boomer Sooner there. I know that fight song. Heard that fight song way too much because I grew up in the Big 8, Big 12 days. So I got to hear, Ray, there are certain songs you hear and it just reminds you of getting trampled by better football teams. Like my Missouri Tigers would, I remember being a child back in the late 80s, early 90s, and literally Missouri would go on the road to like Nebraska and Oklahoma. And Ray, they would lose like 57-3, like all the time. Oklahoma and Nebraska, these big bad boys from the Big Eight would just destroy my Missouri Tigers. And that Boomer Sooner song never stopped. They literally ran it after every touchdown. So like 15 times a game, here came the Boomer Sooner song.
You were saying trampled. I thought you were going to say trashed. So it went a little different direction. But yeah,
it was
I
awful.
feel you on that.
It was awful. There were games they'd lose 63-0. It was just crazy back in those days. We welcome you back to Lunch Money, and we welcome you to College Football Week 6. That's right, College Football Week 6. And joining us is one of the guys you can catch every Saturday morning on Campus to Canton. They get going at 8 a.m. Matt Bruning is with us to preview what's probably going to be a pretty entertaining Week 6, I think. Matt, good to see you, man. Welcome back. How you doing today?
I am absolutely fantastic. I'm ready for a white knuckle weekend of college football. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm ready to talk about it too. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
100%. And you know what? I might as well just keep it with Oklahoma. Red River rivalry. Texas and OU in Dallas. I saw for the first time in a while, neither team is ranked. Yeah. Oklahoma comes in with 2 straight losses. But man, they're a big dog here. It's like it jumped to like 8.5, 9 points in some books. Is that too high? It kind of seems too high to me.
It would be if Dillon Gabriel was playing. So Dillon Gabriel is the quarterback for Oklahoma. He took a pretty vicious hit in the game against TCU in the first quarter last week. For those of you who pay very close attention to the NFL, he was stumbling around a little bit like Tua. He's likely not going to play with a concussion. If that's the fact, their backup quarterback is not good at all. So the good thing for Texas is they are getting the return of the king. They are getting Joe Dirt himself, and Quinn Ewers coming back, the mullet master. He is back, and that is a good thing for Texas because the Texas trenches are amazing. They've got 2 freshmen on this offensive line that have been absolutely incredible, and Oklahoma's defensive line has not been able to put any pressure on these offenses. I think this is going to be, honestly, I'm playing the 8.5 for Texas. I think that they're going to blow them out because of that. I mean, you don't have your starting quarterback in Oklahoma. Their best safety as well on defense, and Billy Bowman is likely out as well, which means Xavier Worthy, who is one of the best deep threats in college football, is going to be going deep, having Quinn Ewers throw the ball to him. It's setting up to be a very bad game for Oklahoma. It's not going to be pretty. They've won the past couple matchups. In fact, Texas was up on them by 2 touchdowns last year going into halftime. They put Caleb Williams in, and that was history. The rest was history. Caleb Williams brings them all the way back. Biggest deficit in Red River shootout history. Brings them all the way back. Oklahoma wins the game. I don't see that happening this year.
Matt, in the words of Kyle Elfrink, Tennessee sometimes teases us. Okay,
yeah, they do. That's not just me saying that, Ray. That's what they do.
Yeah. What are we thinking here this weekend? Are they going to continue to tease us, or is it finally going to really happen and make Kyle Elfrink take them out of the tease category?
He's going to have to take them out of the tease category. It's no longer your old girlfriend that was teasing you a little bit. You weren't sure if you were ever actually going to be a thing. Tennessee is a thing, and that is because of Josh Heupel and Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker is legitimately, in my opinion, in the Heisman race right now. He's looking for that QB moment, and this could be it against a beat-up LSU team that I think is getting a little bit more credit than they deserve. They had a weird win last week against Auburn that I personally don't think they were the better team, and I don't think they deserve to be I don't believe they deserve to be favored here. I mean, Auburn made mistakes that gave them that win, but Tennessee can score on anybody, and they score fast as well. Jaden Daniels coming into this game is beat up on LSU. They just don't have a very good offense, and on top of that, they're missing their top cornerback in Sevyn Banks. Cedric Tillman right now is projected to play for Tennessee. Definitely something to watch. We'll be talking about it on Saturday, as will the homecoming with Corey Parsons and Tom. They'll be talking about it as well, if whether or not Cedric Tillman plays. But without Sevyn Banks, you've got an explosive offense. And Josh Heupel, for NFL fans, he's like the Kyle Shanahan in the NFL. He knows how to scheme the game toward your quarterback, elevate that offense in the run game, the wide receivers, and he finds your weakness. And LSU's weakness is going to be that secondary, and they've got the wide receivers to attack it on Tennessee's side. The fact that LSU is favored is ridiculous to me. Give me Tennessee in the points.
Talking some college football, obviously, with Matt Bruning. Matt, Kansas football is making an appearance 2 weeks in a row on the show, which is a little surprising. I think I joked last week. I think about them more for basketball, but they got a win last week over Iowa State. They're ranked for the first time in, I think, 13 years.
Yeah.
What does the matchup look with TCU this week? TCU is also ranked in the top 20 here. Talk to us about that Kansas football team.
Yeah, so I mentioned at the beginning here, this could be like a white knuckle weekend. That could be this game right here. This could be a shootout. I am excited for this game, which I don't think anybody expected to say coming into this. A TCU Kansas matchup is something you'd be looking forward to on a Saturday weekend. As crazy as it is to say, though, this might be the best team that TCU has played this year as well in Kansas. They've played some pretty soft matchups leading up to this one, including Oklahoma, where I think it would have been a better game, as I mentioned, if Dillon Gabriel doesn't get knocked out. He does, and when that happens in college football, sometimes these teams just kind of the wheels fall off. I think that's what happened here. TCU, though, might destroy them. You talked about Kansas being a basketball school. We might go back to talking about them being a basketball school after this weekend, because while they have had a good season, TCU is second in explosive offense in the country right now, and Kansas's defense ranks 99th against explosive plays and EPA per play. Their line is 124th against the rush. Kendry Miller just last week averaged 6.2 yards per rush after contact. TCU is going to come out here and put up a ton of explosive plays behind Max Duggan and Kendry Miller. But I do think Jalen Daniels and the Kansas offense will be able to keep it close. And I do think it will be a fun game, but I will play TCU with the 6.5.
My Missouri Tiger heart breaks for the Kansas Jayhawks. That's just awful to hear.
I was rooting for them last week. They almost had that upset of Georgia. I was tuned all in as soon as I saw that was a game, and I was rooting for them.
You know, I was out with friends, and that was an evening game, Mizzou taking on number 1 Georgia. And it got to the fourth quarter, and somebody said, "Oh, my God, Mizzou's up 10. We better turn the game." Soon as we turned the game on, done. Finished.
That's what happens, yeah.
Yeah, total flip-flop. It ended up being thankfully, the party still went on.
So, yeah, that is a good thing, yeah.
Got to ask you about Ohio State. They're a very good team, 1, 2, 3 in everybody's rankings. They're on the road at Michigan State, and they are a huge favorite, Matt. This is almost 4 touchdowns. I know Ohio State is good. Is Michigan State that bad to be a 4-touchdown underdog at home?
Unfortunately. So Michigan State last year built this team through the transfer portal, and we saw them have this massive success. It's not something we've really seen college teams do. They have not quite been able to do that this year. Their passing defense last year was not good. This year was even worse, and Ohio State put 59 up on them. CJ Stroud's first year as a starter, offense still trying to learn how to click. Now you've got Emeka Egbuka, who's firing on all cylinders. So is Marvin Harrison Jr., the son of Marvin Harrison, Hall of Fame wide receiver. You've got Mayan Williams back there, who's being absolutely fantastic as the backup running back, and they're likely going to get Travion Henderson back this week, who is, in my opinion, one of the best running backs in all of college football. Michigan State's offense can't move the ball through the air, and Ohio State's defense has really stepped it up, being one of the worst ranked defenses last year to up to top 3. So I don't think that Michigan State will be able to put points up to keep up with Ohio State's explosive offense, and it's going to probably get bad fairly early. I think Ohio State, I don't know that they cover. It's really hard to say that some team will get, I think it's 26.5 now. That's really hard to bet for a team to take that, but I would not be surprised. I think they beat them 59 to 14 last year. So they definitely covered it then. And I think they can here, but I wouldn't bet it.
Matt Bruning of Campus to Canton joining us here on Lunch Money. We have primetime football on Saturday night on CBS, which is a somewhat rare occurrence, Matt. And we've got number 1 Alabama hosting Texas A&M. Tide are big favorites in this game. So talk to us a little bit about the matchup. And also fill us in on we've got to know the answer to the question. What side are you taking with the Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban handshake debate? Is it going to happen? Or is it not going to happen?
That's got to be a prop, right? That's got to be available to bet somewhere.
If it is, I think I'm staying away from it because I really don't know which way to go on that. I mean, Nick Saban, I feel like whatever deal he made with the devil to be as successful as he is, because there's no one that's this successful in life, I feel like he wants to shake everybody's hand after he completely destroys you, which I think is going to happen this weekend. The big question will be, will Jimbo Fisher be man enough to walk across the field and shake his hand after everything? For those of you who don't know, there's been massive fireworks in this rivalry just this year as Nick Saban in a talk with boosters that he didn't realize was being filmed talked about how Texas A&M has practically bought their entire recruiting class last year, at which Jimbo Fisher came out in jeans about an hour later and talked about that's false. We didn't do this and that. So there's a lot of fireworks here. While they were able to upset Alabama at home in College Station last year, Zach Calzada blacked out and had the game of his life. He's not a quarterback that I think is very good, and he won't be there. Now they've got Haynes King, who turns the ball over, it feels like, every fourth or fifth pass. That's not good against a really good Alabama defense. Alabama's run defense is ranked fourth in limiting explosive plays, which is really all Texas A&M has is Devin Achane. And they're third in offensive line yards. They're fourth in stuff rate. Their defense is legitimately good against the run, and that's all Texas A&M has. Haynes King is not a good passer. While I said the same thing with Ohio State, I don't think I played numbers this big. I actually feel comfortable playing the 24. Even if Bryce Young doesn't play in this one, the starting quarterback for Alabama, who had a shoulder injury last week, sat the entire second half. They played Jalen Milroe, who is a backup, but he is so talented using his legs as well, and Nick Saban's had a week to prepare. Nobody knows if Bryce Young's playing or not. Nick Saban knows. They've either game planned to have Bryce Young out there or Jalen Milroe. Regardless, they are one of the best teams in college football. I'm playing Bama with the 24 against the Aggies. And I'll say I will take the prop bet that they shake hands because I don't think Jimbo Fisher wants to be called out on that if he just decides to walk off the field.
Yeah, and you hope you get a handshake if you get defeated by 35 points. You hope you get a handshake. You got to love it. In the NFL, you lose Jonathan Taylor and you got to bring in Phillip Lindsay off the practice squad. At Alabama, you just bring in another 5-star recruit. No matter which position gets injured, it's just bring on another guy. Matt, before we let you go, is there an upset special tomorrow? Is there any game out there, whether straight up, spread, whatever, something you think the bookies are missing?
UNC at Miami. I know that North Carolina has a bad pass defense, but Miami's being favored by 3.5 here, and I don't get it. Miami's defense right now, their explosive rate is ranked as 2.2, which is 110th in the nation. Just for those of you who know, there's only 120 college teams in there, so that's really bad. Now, they do rank about in the middle of the pack at 50 in pass success rate, but Drake May is one of the up-and-coming quarterbacks in college football. He's extremely talented throwing the ball behind a poor offensive line as well. Miami is getting their top cornerback back, so I do expect them to take a little bit of a step forward. The difference is Miami's offense is horrible. They are one of the worst, in my opinion, in all of college football. There still are out their top 2 wide receivers in George and Restrepo, and their top quarterback, who was considered a NFL draft pick, and Tyler Van Dyke, was benched a week ago. Now, they did get a bye this week. Maybe he's good to go, but I would not be surprised if he's benched again. The money line here, I'm taking UNC. I think that they pull the upset and get the win here. I think it's an easy bet. I don't know why Miami's favored. I think it's just because Mario Cristobal is the coach and the name of the school. But give me North Carolina to win this outright.
Going to be a fun week 6. A lot of early action, too. Kind of maybe the better game here on the early side of the slate. Matt Bruning and crew will be getting you set for it right here on the Bettor Sports Network tomorrow morning starting at 8 a.m. And then we got really college football coverage leading up to kickoff. So if you are interested in that side, wagering, maybe just Heisman talk, the games, whatever you want to know about it, they will get you covered tomorrow morning. Matt, a pleasure, man. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us on Lunch Money. And we always have to ask our guests, since this is Lunch Money, what was for lunch today?
I actually haven't had lunch yet. I just finished work. I'm about to take my kids to McDonald's. Actually, they're all excited. They're staring at me like, "Dad, hurry up!" So I got you.
Hey, I got a kid too. I'm not going to get in the way of a Happy Meal. You go out there, take care of the Happy Meal, take care of those kids, and have a good weekend. Okay, Matt.
You guys as well. Thank you so much.
Matt Bruning joining us here, talking a little college football as we get you set for the weekend to come here on Lunch Money. Ray, it is about halfway through, I guess, the college football season, and so these matchups are picking up. Having a little fun with the college football, yet we still can't get Ray to care about anything but Stanford and Cal. That's it.
Much.
And they suck, by the way, Ray. Those two teams are no good.
Often do, yeah.
Quick update, Kyle Pitts. We got an update here. He's out for week 5. It's not a flip of that script. But what do we got here on Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, we've got a report that Arthur Smith, the head coach of the Falcons, basically said that no, he is out this week. Kyle Pitts will not likely miss long-term with this hamstring injury. What does that mean? Does long-term mean he's playing next week? We don't know, but it doesn't sound like he blew it out, didn't blow a tire. It's not going to be out for months and surgery or anything like that. So it's positive news, though, without a direct time frame.
Okay, let's take a breather here. On the flip side, we still have another handful of NFL games to break down for Sunday. We've also got to get you our lunch hunch. We got to tell you what we got planned for the weekend. We got picks against the spread. It's going to be a busy final 40 minutes or so. If you've got questions, by all means, send them to us in the chat room. If you're having fun with what we're doing today, hit that fun button. Enjoy things there. Check out the new website, bettorsportsnetwork.com. We've got, what do they call it, Ray? We got swag now? Is that what we're selling over there?
That's what they call it.
So the swag. Now, speaking of swag, Ray, what the hell are you wearing today? What is this?
It's a tie-dye shirt. Homemade tie-dye shirt. Get away from
Was this from like Vacation Bible School back in the 70s or what?
This was made with my niece and nephew 2 years ago.
Oh.
So this is homemade.
A heart?
Yeah, this one's a heart. I actually have one with the Dexter, my cat. So there's an orange cat with eyeballs. Myriad of designs. I don't remember who made this one. We kind of all interchanged. I don't know if it's my niece or my nephew. But yeah, so it's a homemade tie-dye shirt. Speaking of shirts, by the way, I did find out who was on the puck. Would you like to hear that?
Yeah, fire away. Who was on that?
Yeah, so the puck we were talking about, I mentioned that because it was on a T-shirt. I have the T-shirt up in the drawer. I could have gone and looked, but I was able to find the T-shirt just to, if people missed it. It's a shark puck from San Jose Sharks, obviously, from Star Wars Night. That is Joe Thornton here, as we anticipated. The other two are Joe Pavelski and then Logan Couture. So it's Thornton, Pavelski, and Couture on this puck. Kyle suggested I get rid of Michael Healy's autograph.
Yeah, that
puck
will be worth a damn, Ray, if you get rid of the original autograph and get the other three guys to autograph it.
That would be a really cool collectible. You're right about that.
Yeah. I think you absolutely need to think about that. Now, I was also charged with some homework. Check it out, Ray. July, 23rd, 2011, Angels at Baltimore. This is the game you and I attended. Check out that weather. You see the weather there?
Yes, I remember.
102 degrees. And folks, that was 7 o'clock?
7:15,
Saturday night.
Yes. And I stood up in like the fourth inning and said, how do you live in this or something, right? Because it's like, this is... And I remember the date because it was Mike Trout's rookie season, and he actually hit his first career home run the next day.
The next day. He was not in this lineup on Saturday night that we went to.
Yep.
But you're right. The very next day, Mike Trout hit his first ever major league home run.
Yep.
Ray and I missed it by like 15 hours.
Yeah. And we melted our you-know-what's off. Who lives in a place where it's 95% humidity and it's 102 degrees at 7 o'clock at night? Oh,
I think like half the country, Ray, lives in such a place.
I know. That's just terrible, man. I remember we went and we drank at the bar down behind the stadium. You know, it was trying to find a place with AC so we wouldn't die before the game began.
Man, check out this Angels team. And again, no Mike Trout at this point, but you got Eric Ibar, Torrey Hunter, Bobby Abreu, Vernon Wells. Is that Cayaspo? Is that
Cayaspo is what I think? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And what we got? Howie Kendrick, Russell Branyan, Peter Borges, and Jeff Mathis.
Wow.
Man, seems like longer than 11 years ago, doesn't it? Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. So anyway, that was the Ray. I don't have a mention, Ray, if you and I go. Didn't make mention of it at all.
That's really just kind of disappointing. Why didn't you get me to sign your book that night?
Well, like I said, you do important things. You don't do just wasteful things.
We've only been working together for a short time in 2011, so maybe you didn't think
of it. A little, Ray, if I had known I'd be stuck with you and tied together at the waist for the next 11 years, maybe I would have made a point to say the first game I've ever attended with Ray Flowers, but not at all. 3-2 victory by the Orioles there. Kevin Gregg with the save. Of course. Back then, he was getting all sorts of saves. Okay, break for us on Lunch Money. Back with NFL, back with picks, back with props. We've got Lunch Hunch. We'll get to all of it coming up next, right here on the Bettor Sports Network.
Good afternoon, bettors. It's Duke, back and better than ever. Presented to you, as always, by fantasyguru.com. Welcome back to Duke's Den, where I try to make you money one bet at a time. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to Lunch Money. Happy Friday to you. Hopefully you guys get the weekend kicked off with a fun Friday night. But before we do that, let's talk a little NFL and college football. Gave you one bet last hour. That was the Las Vegas Raiders, plus 7.5. That half being key over on FanDuel against the Chiefs. But let's talk Survivor. It's a big week for Survivor. Number one, if you're still in it, congratulations. We, the staff at Fantasy Guru, still have one entry left in the Circa Survivor contest, down to, I want to say, like 1,200 teams from 6,500. It's been an absolutely bonkers year. Some chalk has gone down. Some questionable picks have been popular for some reason. Those have gone down as well. So we've cut the field, by essentially 80%. Now we're battling the rest, and we're trying to figure out where the chalk is going to lie. So let's talk through a few of these different games here if you're still in a Survivor contest. Number one, we do have the Packers as 8-point favorites in London. I don't like using the London game in Survivor, regardless of who is involved. Travel, food's an issue, different routines. These guys are routine animals. Look, if anything, I'd be on the Giants plus 8 just because of the weirdness and Daniel Jones's running ability. I'm not taking the Packers in Survivor. So where is the ownership going to fall? Bills are the biggest favorite on the board. They're 2 touchdown favorites over the Steelers. Sure, the Bills are going to win, right? In our contest specifically, and it might be the same for yours, the Thanksgiving short week and Christmas week are their own individual weeks as well. With how many people are left, we assume we're probably going to get to Thanksgiving, maybe not Christmas, but the Bills are essentially our pick from 6 teams for that game. So we're trying to save them. So let's eliminate the Bills. I think the chalk is going to be the Bucs as 8.5-point home favorites here to the Falcons. Now, the reason why I don't want the Bucs is, number one, the Bucs are a decent enough team. Divisional game. Tom Brady's going through all of his personal issues here. He did look better with Mike Evans last week, and we all know Tom Brady angry is probably a guy you don't want to mess with. But if you know anybody who's been through a divorce, it's the messiest thing in the entire world. I'm wondering if he's distracted. I want to avoid this chalk, hope they lose. The Vikings are an option, but how about the Jaguars as 7-point home favorites against the Texans, who are probably the worst team in the league? When are you ever going to use the Jaguars again? Never. Same thing with the Vikings at home against the Bears. Now, 2 college football bets I want to give you, then we'll get out of here. Number one, Florida, I think, rolls over Missouri. Big letdown spot for Missouri, but this Florida defense gives up points. I'm going over 53.5. Next, you have to find the right side of this number. It's 7 in a lot of places, but I have seen some 6.5s. TCU on the road in Lawrence, Kansas, minus 6.5 is my lock of the week. Take it. Let's make some money. Have a good weekend. Adios.
It's always lunchtime here. Now back to Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers.
It appears, Ray, we got our first final of baseball's postseason, 2-1. What a baseball playoff score! 2-1 Cleveland over Tampa today, huh?
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday, right on the show, how these two teams are kind of small ball, and that's the way this game played out. Though it was 2 big flies that accounted for all the runs. McClanahan pitched well, Bieber pitched better, and Clase came in at the end, and no one seems to be able to hit that guy this year.
I shouldn't complain, Ray, because that game took 2 hours and 20 minutes. Pretty well. That's a quick one. None of that 4-hour postseason stuff to begin this October. So Cleveland wins it. So my bet, I had Tampa as an underdog straight up win for today. Plus 105. I lose. The bet is done. Phillies and Cardinals just underway into the second inning. No score there. Seattle and Toronto, they get going at 4 o'clock. San Diego and the Mets, they're later tonight at 8 o'clock. Ray, speaking of bets, it is time for our lunch hunch here on Lunch Money. What is your lunch hunch?
I got rid of baseball for the day. Maybe I'll go back to it here when we get back to next week. My lunch hunch today, plus 800. So I'm going in the Kyle Elfrink zone now with a big number. Plus 800 for 20 plus catches for CeeDee Lamb and Cooper Kupp. Sounds bananas.
Yeah, it's a little bananas. A little bananas there, Ray.
Lamb has averaged 10 targets and 7 receptions each of the last 3 games. Kupp has 11 catches, in 3 of his 4 games, and is averaging 10.5. So if Kupp does a normal Kupp and we get the normal rush Lamb thing, we're at 17.5. That's just a normal for the two of them, based upon the average. We saw last week, Kupp with 14 catches. Again, it's a hunch. It's plus 800, but I don't think, as crazy as that number sounds, that it's impossible to get to it.
I'm actually going to beat you, Ray, with a plus 1,000.
All right.
Most home runs in the Blue Jays Seattle series.
Okay.
I'm going Teoscar Hernandez, Ray, plus 1,000. Only from those two teams.
Right.
Now, I will challenge you, Mr. Ray Flowers, and I know you're not a wagerer as such, but you are a guy who knows baseball. You do understand that. This is no longer available. I saw it yesterday, but the games have started, so this is no longer available.
Okay.
But, Ray, guess who? And again, I'm taking Teoscar Hernandez, most home runs, plus 1,000 in that series, just for the 3 games. But, Ray, if you take all these wild card series going on this weekend, guess who is the Vegas top pick, the favorite for most home runs this weekend? And there's a lot that you have to think about. Who's getting 3 games, who's getting 2 games, where are they playing, pitching matchups, a lot of aces on the hill. But, Ray, I probably could have guessed 10 names.
Oh, it's
and I wouldn't have guessed this guy. I really wouldn't have. So do you have anybody you feel good about that you think would be the Vegas odds maker favorite for home runs this weekend? Out of all 8 teams, who would hit the most home runs?
I think you could say Schwarber because of his home run total, right? But you said it's not obvious.
He was like 7th. And remember, St. Louis is kind of a bad ballpark for hitting. But I think he was 7th or so.
You don't want to pick Padres because they're theoretically facing Scherzer and DeGrom. We wouldn't pick anyone from the Rays and Guardians. I don't think anyone would pick Jose Ramirez. I don't think. Boy,
I'll be stunned if you get this.
Okay. How about all of baseball? Shocking. Eugenio Suarez.
He was tied for 2nd. Good call. His teammate, not Julio Rodriguez, Cal Riley.
Wow. I would never have gotten that.
I would have never guessed that.
Wow.
He is the leader, at least according to the odds, for home runs this weekend of all these teams in the wild card round.
Well, to your point, you talked about the Blue Jays and their pitching, and so that's why I was thinking maybe the Mariners, and that's why I said Suarez because he's the obvious guy. Yeah, Raleigh. Wow.
Did he have 20 this year?
Yeah,
I don't think he
did.
Did he get to 20? Okay, so makes a little bit. I mean, I could even tell people it's a catcher.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they would have gotten Cal Riley of the Mariners.
JT Realmuto? Yeah, probably wouldn't have.
Kind of a stretch there. Okay, let's get back to the action, Ray, as we get people set for week 5. And before we dig into a few more of these games, big news today. Kyle Pitts is out. Not going to be playing. I saw Frank Reich says that they think Jonathan Taylor could be back for week 6. So that's good news there. Rashad Bateman, DNP. I haven't seen anything on the Dolphins, Ray, with Tyreek Hill and this quad injury. But we should tell people it's probably 50-50 for Tyreek Hill. It's not looking good for Keenan Allen, not looking good for Michael Thomas. So all those guys would be question marks. I guess there's a slight chance of David Montgomery being out here for the Bears, very slight. I'm trying to think anything else. Let's see. Lazard is not on the latest injury report, so he's in the clear. Brian Robinson practiced today. I would suspect, Ray, he's probably out there. I wouldn't get too excited. Maybe it's 7-8 touches. Is that kind of where you would put it for Robinson?
I think that's fair if he's out there. It's still possible he's not, but I think that is fair. We talked a lot about Gibson and how his roles kind of receded. J.D. McKissick's seeing a little bit more work on the ground too. So I think that's a fair number. But yeah, as much as you could be excited about Robinson and believe he takes over this job, you can't be playing him this week. It's just not going to happen this week.
If we get any other mentions, any other reports, we'll make sure to pass them along here in our final hour. But again, stick around. Corey Nando and friends, they will get all these reports. They start to come in usually about 3-4 o'clock. So you'll start to get all that information right here on BSN. Let's go back to the games, Ray. Chargers, Cleveland. We talked about Keenan Allen. Not looking really good here. Chargers, a 2-point favorite. So we got a relatively tight game here. Big over-under, at least for this year's NFL. 47.5 is the mark. I am actually going, Ray, with Cleveland over 23.5. I think this game actually could be one of the rare overs, maybe get us into 50 points. I certainly think the Chargers are willing to go back and forth. And I think the Browns may be willing to do that. We're due a big Kareem Hunt game. I will tell you that. He has done nothing since week 1, by the way. So we're due a big, and that honestly, Ray, is my guy to watch. I think Kareem Hunt, and this makes no sense, Ray, but this is how his career kind of works, where it's a lot of peaks and valleys. And you're just kind of due if you're Kareem Hunt. I think he's kind of due. So I like Cleveland to score in this game, and I like Kareem Hunt to get back into the end zone. I know it's been disappointing the last 2 or 3 weeks. I'd still have him as a flex call for this week.
Yeah, my player to watch in this one is David Njoku, because we all want to see, the follow-up here. He's gone 572 games in a row, so I guess we can legitimately say he's the number 2 pass catcher, maybe number 1, Amari Cooper, in this offense. And, he's played 88% of the snaps in every game, so he's always on the field. He's heavily involved here, and, he has scored each of the last 3 times these two teams have faced off, and the last time out it was 149 yards and a touchdown. So I'm watching David Njoku this week.
What's your favorite prop before we get to our faded players?
Yeah.
What's the prop you like?
My prop is Justin Herbert over 274.5 passing yards. He's gone 275 in 3 of 4 games this year. He's averaging over 300 this season. Cleveland does have solid numbers against the pass, but that's because they face Mayfield, Flacco, Trubisky, Mariota, which is laughably bad group. So Justin Herbert,
a little more of a challenge this weekend.
Yeah, a little bit more of a challenge. So over 274.5 for Herbert.
Yeah, that's still a big number. I still kind of hesitate a bit. And God knows, we may wake up on Sunday and the wind's howling at 20 miles. That stuff seems to always happen in Cleveland. So that could change. I don't dislike the prop, but Ray, I kind of dislike one of the options. Now, again, Keenan Allen not looking good. Ray, I guess we've been down this road. Joshua Palmer, 2 weeks ago, I'm starting him. A week ago, I'm starting him. I've got him in the league this week, Ray, and I'm probably not starting him. I'm probably going Tony Pollard over Joshua Palmer. It just hadn't happened. And I thought it would. I said this earlier in the week. The situation's working out well. The other receivers are injured. Joshua Palmer's getting a chance. He's not taking advantage of it. So I'll fade him this week again. And again, it looks like he'll have a chance to succeed against the Browns.
My player to fade is Josh Palmer. The ankle was an issue. He didn't play his normal snap rate last week, but he was still on the field, played 56 snaps, caught 1 pass. Opportunity has been there. It's been a so-so response for him given that opportunity.
I feel like I've said this a few times. Watchability of 2 on this one.
I'm going 3. A little higher. I'll go 3.
Okay. What has you slightly enticed?
I just like the Chargers offense, and I'm a huge Nick Chubb guy. And I love the clash of a brilliant uniform on the Chargers side and a horrendous uniform on the Browns side.
Yeah, these don't work well on TV together. Yeah, they're not going to look all that sharp. Let's go to Seattle and New Orleans, down to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Let's make sure I get the advertising and marketing correct. Saints are favored by 5.5, despite it looks like Andy Dalton still being their quarterback. Over/under is at 46. Moneyline has the Seahawks plus 190, the Saints minus 225. I'm not saying they'd be hugely impressive wins, Ray, but to think Seattle back-to-back road wins, if they can do it, against Detroit, New Orleans, that would be a surprise. If they come out of this game with a win, Ray, following the win of last week, they had the win in week 1 against Denver. I would be really surprised by the start from the Seahawks. I still don't think they're all that good, but that would be a very strong start considering what they're working with to begin the year.
Yeah, I don't think anyone looking at the NFC West would have said before the season that they weren't the worst team. And everyone's 2-2 now, so everyone's got a chance at the moment. And if Seattle can go to 3-2, that'd be pretty damn impressive.
What's your favorite prop from the Seahawks visiting the Saints?
Geno Smith is performing extremely well, given what he's asked to do. We all know that. He's on pace to set the record for completion percentage, all that. We're getting a lot of volume to Tyler Lockett. We're going to see that continue this week. So it's a minus 115. Lockett over 64.5 receiving yards. He's had 3 straight outings of 75. And he's averaging 91 yards on 10 targets in those 3 games. So that's the prop with him.
I'm jumping on a Chris Olave prop. We all saw what went down last week in Detroit, 45 points. Lions were moving up and down the field. Even beyond that, the Seattle secondary is giving up some big plays this year. They're one of the 5 or 6 worst teams in football in terms of big plays allowed. Olave, 22.5 yards. I'll take the over on that being his longest reception. That comes in at minus 120. So 22.5 yards. I look at this team, Ray, and I don't think Thomas is out there. I don't think this is Chris Olave. I mean, this is his time to just do it. And he's working with the backup, but it's not a bad backup in Andy Dalton. So I think we see more of Olave. I'd roll him. It's weird, Ray, to say, I feel good about a guy even with his backup quarterback when he's got 4 games of NFL experience under his belt, but I kind of do with Olave. This is a game where I'd make sure he's in my starting 3 amongst wide receivers.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, by the way. And, that leads into my player to fade, which is Jarvis Landry, because I see the game just like you do. I think Olave's getting double-digit targets, or it's very likely he does. I don't think there's a lot of volume for the other guys. I think we'll see it spread around as we have. And Jarvis Landry, 22 yards, 25 yards, 7 yards. Like, what happened? This is supposed to be the chain mover for this offense. He's not even catching passes. So he's my guy to fade, and I like your Olave call.
I'll stick Andy Dalton as my guy to fade. He will be the layoff. Now, I still think the Saints can win this game, but I just want to dissuade anybody from thinking that Dalton can do what Goff did last week against Seattle. I don't think the Saints are built that way. So I'll fade Dalton. My guy to watch is Kamara. He's got to be. Ray, fingers crossed, it sounds like he'll play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had Kamara as the guy to watch last week in London. Nothing to watch. I think we'll get to watch him this week, and we'll see how it goes, Ray. What he's dealing with more than anything, Ray, is a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. And so you never know. I mean, sure, they can shoot him up. They can throw on a flak jacket, all that stuff, but that can pull back on movement. That can pull back on maneuverability, avoiding tackles, all that stuff. You take a hit in the wrong place, he could be out. So we'll see. This will be his first test of just kind of surviving 60 minutes of hitting and 60 minutes of playing football.
Yeah, we've talked about it for years. Those rib injuries are tough. There's nothing you can do athletically that doesn't involve your rib cage. Not a single movement you can make. And so when a lot of times when this happens, it even hurts just to breathe like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they can do things, protection, shots, all that kind of stuff, but it is oftentimes a pain tolerance scenario.
Who's your guy to watch for the Saints and the Seahawks?
Penny and Walker both seemingly have some physical things going on. It seems like both are going to play this week, but I'm going to watch Kenneth Walker. He's shown some nice juice. Penny had that big game last week and should be expected to lead the backfield again this week, if indeed he does play in touches and all that. But we've talked about it. Penny, he's not making 17 games. It's not happening. And that Walker kid in that offense, I'm getting a little interested. I'm watching him.
Yeah, I think that backfield is worth watching. And obviously with the Kamara situation, with Geno Smith, is it real? Is this really the Geno Smith we're going to get this year? I'm giving this a watchability rate of a 3. I'll go to a 3, which I'm surprised I'm that high, but you start to think about the things to follow. There's plenty to follow in this game.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that too. I went a 2. I get it, but I'm at a 2 on this one.
Not buying Geno Smith.
No.
More shame, Ray Flowers.
But he's leading a better passing offense than a quarter of football. Tell you that.
Let's go to San Francisco, who is on the road in Charlotte, taking on the Panthers. San Francisco favored by 6.5. The over-under, Ray, is under 40 in this game. And I don't blame them. In fact, that leads to my favorite prop. San Francisco to win straight up and the under to hit. A low-scoring, drag-out affair between two offenses. I don't want to say the Niners are a bad offense, but they're not an offense that is a threat for 30 most weeks. I don't think they're a threat for 30 this week. Short week. They got to go all the way to the East Coast after the Monday night game. So they may come out slow. I would expect them to come out slow. They can win this game 20-10. And the over-under's 39. This is under 38.5. That comes into plus 170. So Niners to win. They keep this game low scoring, plus 170. That's the prop I like. How about you, Ray?
I agree with you. Low scoring is likely to be what we see, but there still are offensive pieces to exploit here. And one of them is Deebo Samuel. In 2 games working with Jimmy Garoppolo, he's gone for 73 and 115 receiving yards. We know about the touchdown potential and the stuff on the ground. But again, 73 and 115 yards. There's no stopping a guy who breaks tackles in the open field. You can't scheme that, right? Deebo Samuel's going over 55.5 receiving yards, minus 120.
Okay. My player to watch is Garoppolo. And Ray, it was good to get that win. It got people off his back. Remember a week ago, he sucked. He was no good. This is why they have Trey Lance. Now all is forgotten as soon as he gets a win. And believe me, Ray, that will be how it is the whole season. Every time he wins, he's fine. Every time he loses, oh my God, he's terrible. This is why that is his future. That is his stake in life is, you tell me what Garoppolo and the Niners did. I'll tell you what the people are saying about him, because nobody can make up their mind on Garoppolo. I think he's a fine quarterback. I think he's actually overall better for this team than Fields is. So even if he loses this week, I still think he's a better fit right now in the here and now than is Trey Lance. I was saying Fields, but Trey Lance. I think Garoppolo's the better fit. Got my eyes on him. My fade, Ray, is DJ Moore. We've had a lot of bad weeks. I don't think those bad weeks disappear against this Niners defense. I don't think Baker Mayfield suddenly figures out the connection he can have with DJ Moore. That this ain't going to break the streak of bad games this week. It ain't happening. So fade Moore, watch Garoppolo. Who are you two guys?
I'm fading George Kittle, which is tough because the position is, I'm not saying you can't start him, but I'm fading him. The expectations have to be lowered. 24 yards last week. He's averaged 27.5 yards if you include the playoffs, his last 8 games. Like, it's just not, he has really come back to the pack. The Niners need him to block. Williams is down. Their backup left tackle's down. They're down to the third guy there. So I'm fading Kittle. Don't expect him to be elite, certainly this week. And then my player to watch, which is easily the player I could have put in the fade section, Christian McCaffrey. We're not likely to see Christian McCaffrey on the field with a lower weekly ranking than we are this week, and it's obvious why. The Niners rank 5th in pass rush, and they're 4th against the pass, according to DVOA. They can't pass the ball, Carolina, to start with. So that's a terrible matchup. The Niners can generate pressure without even having to blitz a lot of times. And then you look at the ground. Check this out. 1st in DVOA rushing defense, 1st in rushing DVOA overall, allowing the 2nd fewest PPR points to running backs. Christian McCaffrey, what do you got this week?
And Ray, I will be shocked if we somehow, stunned, shocked, blown away if we somehow get a decent Mayfield game. Like this, I brought the number earlier in the week. Unless he is throwing to Christian McCaffrey, when he throws the ball to everybody else, he is completing 48% of his passes. That is hideous. And I don't think it's going to get much better against the Niners. Watchability, Ray. Gosh, I'm probably fudging here. I'm giving it a 2.5, but I think to myself, my God, Kyle, I stack all these games up. Is this the one I want to watch? Probably not, but I'll settle in for a 2.5. If nothing else, Ray, I get to watch Troy Aikman's favorite player.
It's true. Yeah, I'm a 3, but it's probably because I'm a Niners fan. Yeah. And who doesn't like to watch Troy Aikman's favorite player?
Yeah, who doesn't? Atlanta, Tampa is up next. Bucks a giant favorite here, 10 points. Tom Brady says he's playing. The receivers seem to be getting more healthy. Prop I like, Ray, is a lot of rushing for Leonard Fournette. He has been very quiet and mostly ignored the last 2 weeks. I think they're going to reestablish him in the running game. I don't know if they cover 10, but I think they're going to have this game mostly under control. Over 16.5 rushing attempts is plus 105. Almost even money. That's a big number, but if you look at the first 2 games this year, Fournette had, I think, 21 and 23. Mm-hmm. So they're not afraid to give him the ball. He hasn't been getting it the last couple of weeks, so I'll go the over on 16.5 carries. How about you?
My prop is Marcus Mariota, even though they're going to be behind and having to play catch up. Under 200.5 passing yards. Kyle Pitts isn't playing. There's one other viable pass catcher right now in this offense in Drake London. I don't anticipate them having any success running the football either. The Bucs are 4th in DVOA pass defense, 3rd against the Pro Football Focus, got them 2nd in pass coverage. That's not going to help when you don't have targets that you trust. So as much as it seems like game flow wise, he should get there, I'm going the under 200.5 passing yards, minus 115 with Mariota.
Okay. I'll take Brady as my guy to watch. I don't know if we have injuries per se, Ray, but we've got nicks. We've got bruises. Even an ego might be bruised at this point with Tom Brady. I don't know. But he's my guy to watch. Last week was like vintage Brady against Kansas City. Before that, we hadn't really seen it. It was like 200 yards, and that was it. Then he kind of blew up in that catch-up scenario against Kansas City. I will say, I don't think we have like a strong Brady showing. I think it's a solid Brady showing. So he'll be my guy to watch. Who's your guy to follow?
Drake London. I mean, he caught 13 passes the first 2 games. Looked great. Everything was going fine. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. Here we go. 5 catches the last 2 games. They desperately need him. The problem now, of course, is he will be the entire focus of Tampa Bay. So I'm really interested to see which Drake London, statistically speaking, shows up this week.
My fade's going to be Caleb Huntley. in the backfield. I know he was picked up. I know Algier was picked up. I'm feeling Algier. I feel better about starting Algier than Huntley. Now, we're not going to know until we kind of see how this works. I mean, we're all kind of guessing what will the Falcons actually do. But for me, Ray, I do like Algier more than Huntley. I think most people are probably in that boat. So my fade's going to be Huntley for this game.
Yeah, my fade's going to be Algier in this game as well. I mean,
do you like Huntley more than Algier?
I don't like either one. Neither one should be played. I'm still Damian Williams long term, but this week, Ray, what are you talking about? Atlanta's going to get blown out in this game. They're not going to stop the Bucs. The Bucs are going to put up points. Tom Brady destroys the Falcons. So the game flow is not there, and the Bucs anyway can't be run on. They're even the third fewest points to running back this season. So this is just a bad matchup for the backfield for that team.
Watchability. Here we go. It's like the number of the week, a 2.
I'll go with 3. I don't really know why I did a 3 because I really only want to watch half the side of this game.
Well, you get to watch your hometown's very own Tom Brady, San Mateo, California.
There you go. Go Tom.
That's why you go there. Last game, Cowboys, Rams. Now, this is not the Sunday night game. We did that yesterday. So the Sunday night game is Baltimore hosting Cincinnati. This is the late window big game. Cowboys on the road at L.A. Ray, despite kind of the negativity surrounding the Rams, they're a 5.5-point favorite here. But despite both these offenses, seemingly we think they're good offenses. Over-under is 43, Ray. Pretty low number when you think Cowboys and Rams. Now, you do have Cooper Rush, so you don't have Dak Prescott, but as we've seen, Rush has been fine. I will say Rush, Ray, is kind of my fade here. I think the magic fades off. It's not going to be hideous. It's not going to be bad. He's not an imposter, nothing like that. But, Ray, I think this is going to be the toughest battle he will have had in the 4 games, which you would expect. You're on the road at the Super Bowl champs. I think the Rams are pissed off. All that stuff works against Rush for Sunday.
Yeah, and my guy to fade is one of the receivers for Rush. I'm going Michael Gallup. It was his first game back. He scored a touchdown, but he wasn't heavily involved. He played a couple less snaps than Noah Brown, basically ran the same amount of routes as Noah Brown. We certainly have seen Noah Brown continue to have that connection with Cooper Rush. So as much as I like Gallup long-term, I think that's more of a play with Dak Prescott. So he'd be my guy to fade this week.
I think my guy to watch is Tyler Higbee. How legitimate is the idea of him being the second option in this offense? Last week, we saw double-digit catches, and coming out of that game against the Niners, it's like, who else is catching? It's Kupp, it's Higbee, it's Higbee, it's Kupp, it's Kupp, it's it. That's it. Nobody else is stepping up. So let's see if it continues this week. So Higbee's my guy to watch. Who's yours?
My guy to watch is Ben Skoranek. He plays all the snaps. He runs all the routes. He's out there all the time. Doesn't get anything. And they keep saying they want to get Robinson involved. He's not separating from the defense. They're not getting him involved. They keep saying at some point, second receiver's got to catch a ball. You can't be an upper division team if you have one guy catching passes. To your point about Tyler Higbee, Ben Skoranek is a guy I'm going to watch this week.
Favorite prop, and I'm a sucker for these kind of things, right? I kind of said it with Kareem Hunter. When a guy is so quiet or is coming off a quiet game and he's not supposed to be that quiet, I am a believer in, the squeaky wheel getting the grease, if you will. And he hasn't been squeaking about it. But Tony Pollard, last week was a disaster. This week, the over-under for total yards is 48.5. I have to think that's doable. And I think a team like the Cowboys will recommit saying, hey, what did we do last week? We totally forgot about Tony Pollard. Let's get him back in the groove, back as a part of this offense. So I like the over 48.5 total yards. That is minus 120 over at DraftKings. What's your prop to play?
The Rams have had struggles, running the football effectively. They're going to continue to pass, even with the struggles that Stafford has faced to date. He's hit 27 completions 3 times in 4 weeks. He's averaging 26.5 completions on 38 passes. The prop is over 23.5 completions, a minus 120 for Matthew Stafford. Okay.
Watchability score, Ray. How high are you going for the Rams and the Cowboys?
I kind of want to watch this one. I'm going to go 4. Maybe I'm off. I bet you're going to say lower than that. Are you going to go 4 too?
I got a 4 too. I thought I'd kind of be at a 5, but I guess with Rush there and not Prescott, and I don't know. I feel like every week I'm getting force-fed the Rams. Like every week. Yeah. Thursday night football to start the season. Monday night with San Francisco. This game's going to be like beamed to 80% of the country. It's Rams, Rams, Rams. It's their world. So I'm kind of tired of them already. But I'll give it a 4, the same as you. Okay, with that taken care of, we have previewed every single game for Sunday. Now, Monday night football, which is Raiders Chiefs, we'll do that next Monday on the show. Ray, it is now time for us to go on the record. Picks against the spread. Last week, I was 7-7. Ray, you were 6-8. We both had a draw, a push, if you will. So that's why we only had 14 games. For the season, we're still a little weak. I am 27-32 against the spread. Ray, you are 25-34.
Not good.
It's a spread. So work to be done. Heather Klein will keep track of these. Heather, grab your pen. We shall go rather quickly. Ray, let us start with Sunday morning in London. Packers by 7.5 over the Giants. I am going Green Bay.
I'm going Green Bay as well.
Another 7.5 number. Minnesota favored by 7.5 against the Bears. I'll take Minnesota win, but I'm taking the Bears to keep this one closer than 7.5.
I'm taking the Vikings in both respects.
Okay. Pittsburgh and Buffalo. This is a big, big number. 14 points for the Bills. And Ray, I get it. I understand it, but it's too big for me. Give me Pittsburgh on that 14-point dog.
It's massive, and I feel stupid, but I'm still taking it.
Another big number. Tampa, favored by 10 against Atlanta. You said Tampa's going to kill them, right?
They are. I'm taking that one too.
Yeah. I'll take Tampa on that one. Give me Tampa in the 10-point cover. Let's see. Miami is a 3.5 road favorite of the Jets. I've been saying it all week. Jets win this one straight up. I'm taking them against the spread.
Miami will win this one, and they will cover the spread.
Okay. Too big of a number for me. Jacksonville getting 7, or I should say laying 7 against Houston. Give me Houston to be within 7 there.
This is a really tough one, but I'm going to go with the Jaguars. I think they make it.
I think this is a tough one. Chargers on the road at Cleveland. The Bolts, Ray, are favored by 2 points.
Yeah, that's tough, but I'm going to go Chargers. I'm going to take it.
I'll go Browns. Got the home advantage. Maybe no Keenan Allen. Detroit at New England. Patriots favored by 3. I will take Detroit to keep that one close, if not outright win.
Goff doesn't play well on the road. They're still dealing with some things. Patriots.
Commanders are a 2-point dog at home against Tennessee. You going with the favored Titans or the underdog Commanders?
Watson is out this week. Not that that's the reason, but I'm going with the Titans.
Yeah, I'm going with the Titans too. Seahawks are a 5.5-point dog at New Orleans. I don't know which way to go on this. The Seahawks keep surprising me. I guess I'll go with the surprise. Give me Seattle.
Shocker of shockers. Jameis Winston is out this week. So is Michael Thomas, just announced. I'm going Seattle.
San Francisco, we talked about their game with Carolina. I think this one is so low scoring, Ray, that Carolina actually keeps it rather tight. It's a 6.5-point spread. I'll take the Panthers.
I mean, they played really well last week against the Rams. They're the better team. I'm going the Niners.
Philly is at Arizona. Philly favored by 5. I've been calling for the Cardinals to win it straight up. I'm not changing my tune. Give me Arizona.
You should have changed your tune and gone with the Eagles like I am.
Dallas visiting the Rams. Ram favored by 5.5. I'll take LA.
I will as well. The Rams.
Got that Sunday night game, and we just got some news, Ray. Rashad Bateman is out, right?
He is. He's out this week for the Ravens, so I guess it's Devin Duvernay season.
Well, so this number may change. Right now, the Ravens are favored by 3.5. I'll go Cincinnati, Ray, and we'll treat the number 3.5. I'm going Cincinnati here.
I will go Cincinnati as well.
And then Monday Night Football, Chiefs are favored by 7. I think the Raiders put up a fight here. I think everybody's just thinking the Chiefs will cakewalk. They always get big numbers like this at home. They often miss the big numbers. So I will take the Raiders as a 7-point underdog.
I often do miss the big numbers, but I'm still going to go with the Chiefs in this one.
Okay, those are the picks. That is going on the record with Ray Flowers and myself. Finally, our dessert to go today. Ray, Deja Vu.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? They're actually studying this. They're trying to figure out. Ray does believe in deja vu, correct?
Correct, I do, yes.
Yeah, and I do as well. So this is one of those weird, eerie things that Ray and I actually agree on. Ray, the latest studies as to what is going on, they believe that when deja vu happens, they think this is driven by the fact that things look similar. Like if you walk down a hospital corridor, this is the example they give, like the way things are situated is very normal from room to room, and they think your memory or is just having conflicting memories of where you were when you were. You see the same general layout, and you start to think you've been in that situation before. We're confused, they say.
But what happens if you have the memory and then you have the event? That's something we need to look at, because that happens to me. I think about it, and then it happens in the future.
I often get one when I'm talking with people like you. I've been doing this for 12 years. Deja vu, deja vu. We'll see you on Monday.